And we are going free. A good Sunday evening, Monday morning for all of you. And of course, all of you in the UK might be a bit surprised. You might say, well, Jason's kind of early today. I am. We have leapt forward before you all have leapt forward. So we should be an hour ahead of where we normally are. Big hello to everybody who is here with us. I'm going to jump right into what we have, some of the topics we have to cover like we did last week. And then we will get to all of you and your comments and questions. Before I do that, I am going to go ahead and start, if it will work. We've had a lot of technical difficulties prior to getting started today, but that's okay. We can get around those. There we go. So let's go ahead and do this. Entropy should be up and running. We have here a news story about Donald. It appears that he has pardoned a non-white female black auto thief. A woman who was pardoned by Trump is now running to take the Representative John Lewis's seat. I think this is in Georgia. Her name is King. Aren't they all kings? A reality television celebrity who was pardoned by Donald is now running against a big-time Democrat in Congress. Here's her announcement, and then it shows a couple tweets here. I'm sure there are a bunch of misspellings because she's brilliant and odd syntax as well. She was in prison for 2 years for participating in a car theft ring, but it sounds like she's really turned her life around. Why shouldn't she be in government with all of the other criminals? I think with this pardon, Donald has upped his percentage of the black vote by 0.7 of a single vote. So well done, Donald. We also have here one of our heroes. You all know her, Laura. Often see her in the chat. She wanted me to mention, she's a great participant in our community, by the way, working with Way of the World on Nat Connect. She is the heart and soul and engine of Nat Connect. If you're looking to reach out and create a pen pal network, meet somebody that is maybe your age, maybe just like you in all ways, reach out to Nat Connect by way of the project it's Way of the World, and Laura are behind that project, Nat Connect, and they will look for someone that meets the criteria that you are looking for. And remember, the due diligence is up to you. It's not their fault if you decide to share all of your personal hopes and dreams, social security number, and passport photograph. That is on you. That is your fault if you do those things. So remember, just because somebody is saying the same things that we say doesn't make them not anti-white. We see this all the time. Come on, folks, grow up. She asked me to share with all of you let's see, I think it's a station on SoundCloud called Dissident Flight Radio. She seems to think it is fantastic. Check it out, folks. Next article here is about Afghanistan, and it says here, after 19 years of war, over $1 trillion, and you know it's more than that because you have black budget spending and the rest, 2,400 dead, and a torrent of lies, obviously more than that as well, maybe true or not. The U.S. may now be facing an end to its longest war. The U.S. invaded Afghanistan back in 2001 when yours truly, working on the Hill and the Nerve Center for the Conservative Movement, said, we will win in Afghanistan until we lose and come home. And that is exactly what happened. And the reasons are to cover up the humiliation of the tough-talking Bush administration for being caught sleeping on guard duty of 9/11, to secure oil pipeline routes through Afghanistan from Central Asia. These were all the reasons that this author of this particular piece is saying that there was an invasion of Afghanistan, may be true or not true. Check with the folks at YouTube. To occupy a supposedly empty square of an Asian chessboard before China did. Since 2001, hardly a word of truth about Afghanistan has come out of Washington. All wars are accompanied by a bodyguard of lies, as Churchill wrote. But the lies and propaganda about Afghanistan were extraordinary and shameful. Well, of course, that is in this author's opinion. All the time, the lies about war are extraordinary and shameful. The bottom line is that we were never going to win the war in Afghanistan, because to win that war would mean that we would have to irradiate vast swaths of the country and making it impossible for people or animals or crops or anything like that to grow there. And that would have been the end of it. Nobody had stomach for that, of course. And there was nothing moral about doing that to people on the other side of the world that have nothing to do with what we are doing in our countries and our safety and well-being in our countries. But of course, there is precious oil and other resources there that certain anti-white elites needed to get their fingers into. And so that is why they decided to invade. My guess is we will find out in the near future, and then no one will come back. That's not true. I'm now seeing more and more people saying, hey, Jason said this exact same thing happened, and it happened. My guess is that we'll find out that they are allowed, Taliban are allowed to do whatever they want. The different groups that are there in charge are allowed to do whatever they want to the populations, as long as they leave those oil pipelines and whatever else that they are discovering over there is of economic and strategic militaristic value to the anti-white elites in the world. As long as they leave those things alone, well, they can do anything they want with the little boys and little girls of those countries. I'm sure that's what the anti-whites are saying, and I'm sure we'll find that out in the very near future. The next thing we have here that I wanted to show you all is Slovakia, ethnic nationalist party, now fourth strongest in parliament. And let's see what it says here. The pro-nationalist People's Party, called Our Slovakia, known by its initials LSNS, is now the fourth strongest party in Slovakian parliament. On February 29, the LSNS won 17 seats in parliament, up from 14 in 2016, and increased its popular vote by some numbers that are totally irrelevant. But its overall portion of the vote remained constant at 8%. Slovakia has a multi-party system consisting of about a dozen serious parties and countless tiny fringe groups. There are some questions concerning the outcome. Polls taken immediately before the election showed the LSNS with massive popular support. Pundits predicted that it would become the second strongest party with 24 or more members of parliament. The election saw the ruling party ousted by opposition parties running on an anti-corruption platform. Governmental corruption is rife in Slovakia. During the election, a reporter investigating graft and bribery was murdered. And what's also news about Slovakia is that for everyone out there who believes that, well, if it can be done in Slovakia, if a nationalist party can come to power in Slovakia, well, it can be done here. You all have just figured out that that little tiny pocket in the front of your blue jeans, you've just figured out that that's to hold your IQ points because you are a dumbass. Recently published and free to download is an ebook called, what is this called? How to Organize a Traditional Dance by Jeff Winston. How to Organize a Traditional Dance by Jeff Winston. Written by Jeff, edited by Tony Vermont, designed by the White People's Press. We would like to thank the following contributors: Liv Hyde of WhiteDate.net, Jared George of The Great Order, Josh Neal, author of I'm a Feminist and 10 Other Things Women Never Want to Hear. And finally, John Young, WVMnews.net. Liv writes here, the best way to build a local community is by organizing non-political social events that attract the kind of people we like to associate with. Jeff Winston of White Art Collective has put into words an effective method to follow. We hope that the natural networkers who find this page hear the calling and do not hesitate to act on it, feel invited to use our group, meaning WhiteDate.net, and forum section to communicate with your local and regional members. And just a side note, some folks were asking about WhiteDate.net, and on that application, you are asked for address and things like this. Don't give your actual address. For God's sakes, do your due diligence. They don't require that of you. They just want to get a general area of where you live. If you're looking for a mate, you want to give some general information. And of course, we wish Liv all the positive and wonderful feelings and energy and prayers that we could, as she is raising one of our new princesses, her new little girl. Thank you so much, Liv, for being a wonderful person. From Jeff Jeff writes this. So, you've decided to organize a traditional dance. You might be thinking to yourself, man, this sounds like a lot of work. What have I gotten myself into? But before you get overwhelmed or black-pilled, let me explain why organizing these dances is so important. Every group of people has different conditions and environments in which they thrive, and different types of music, styles of dance, and courting processes are born of different peoples. That would be the biosphere, ladies and gentlemen. This rings true for people of European descent as much as any other group. Dances have been an integral part of our people's cultures for hundreds and even thousands of years. They have served as part of the courting process and are an important aspect of social life and more broadly. In our postmodern consumer-driven society, this has largely been lost, and the conditions and environments in which we thrive have been considerably dismantled. Anecdotally, my grandparents on my father's side met at a little country dance hall called the Red Wing in the heart of the American Midwest. They went on to have 5 children and 10 grandchildren. Congratulations to those people. Fecund people, ladies and gentlemen. My parents also talked about such dance halls existing when they were dating. However, when I was coming of age, Jeff writes, being right in the line between Gen X and millennial, events and venues such as these had largely ceased to exist, seemingly in direct correlation with the souring relations between our men and our women. Chapters include Get Her Drunk, Back Him Off with a Bowed Chest and Lat Spread, and lasciviously, The Late Night Demi-Plie. Only kidding, folks. The adult book is about dances. It's free, and you can get it now. And if the mods will so kindly find the book, we will provide it for you all here in the live chat.
Breaking our back to see our own reflection. Can't they just take their piece and walk away? Rising like a blooming flame of insurrection, innocence designed away in swift decay. They'll fade away. Regret their treason. They'll fade away. Rebirth of reason. Every day they're vanishing without a kind farewell. Re-emerge as someone new, their AI can't tell. Could it be this game we play will never end? One step forward, one step back, ad nauseam. They'll fade away. Regret their treason. They'll fade They'll fade away. Regret their treason. They'll fade away. Rebirth of reason.
Does that make sense? But does it really? Does it make sense, ladies and gentlemen? It should make sense, because all we do here is make sense. What do we have next here? Anti-white hate crimes have become an everyday phenomenon in Denmark. This will be stopped. This is a campaign against anti-white violence in Denmark. In recent weeks, groups of non-white anti-whites have assaulted Danes in a wave of anti-white domination crimes. These are extremely brutal attacks where non-whites beat up random Danes, humiliating the victims, such as forcing them to drink urine while on film. On 14th of February, a 17-year-old boy was attacked. They punched and kicked him and tried to push him in front of a train while his little sister watched on helplessly. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we've seen the anti-whites do this. If you recall, when these riots were going on in London and they were setting the city to light, we saw all of these videos and photographs where they were forcing the white people to strip and humiliating them. It's not enough. It's not enough just to beat up innocent white people. It's not enough to murder them, but there is a true element of bestial, demonic hatred in these anti-white non-whites. They force these people to do humiliating things and torture them when they have the opportunity to do so. And this is the kind of thing that we need to tell our friends and family when we are helping folks to go free. We can ask why these news items are not spread more widely. Just ask them, why are the news agencies not talking about these things? I will tell you why. It's a rhetorical question. I will tell you why. It is because it does not fit the anti-white narrative. They are hush crimes, and therefore they're going to be buried underfoot. That's how you handle all of these news items. Irish students fool Antifa with fake Twitter and collect info on the anti-white doxers. A fake honeypot Twitter account, Irish Students Against Fascism, was branded as an aspiring anti-fascist organizing hub designed to physically, socially, and professionally harass white positive students on campus. So kudos to those folks over in Ireland who tricked these anti-whites into giving them their information. If you are so inclined, you have time, and you want to serve white well-being in this way, do it. Do it. They do it to us. Don't think for a second that you have to be better than they are, morally, ethically, or what have you, because that's how you lose. That's like saying, well, you'll play the game of football or soccer or baseball or whatever it is by the rules because that's the right thing to do by God. And then the anti-whites will play by any rules they decide, and they will stomp you into the ground. There is nothing good or moral about being a loser for any reason. People should accept that American power comes from racism, and that anti-white slur, and that our, quote, history is built on the oppression of black bodies, says Omar at a radical racial justice seminar. Of course, this is an anti-white seminar. We need to translate these things for ourselves as much as for others. We need to make sure that other people know exactly what is being said in these lines. And of course, what does she want to accomplish by that? She thinks that the tables need to be turned. This is a story. Remember the anti-white narrative. It will never go away. It will never get better. There's never making any amends for the anti-whites. You cannot make up for a crime or a sin that you never committed. Hungary's Day of Honor. Hundreds of men and women from Hungary and beyond paid respect to the fallen heroes of a bloody war struggle and commemorated the courage of Hungary's defenders at Fortress Budapest. When Budapest fell in February 45, its citizens were lured out of the woodlands by Soviet forces with the promise of food and humane treatment, but instead were executed on the spot. Speaking directly to what I was just saying there, that the anti-whites have no rules that they are going to play by, and therefore you need to use the exact same rules. Virtue is only employed when it is reciprocal. Only a whore spreads her legs for everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Only 785 people survived the terror that was inflicted on them for naively believing the claims of those individuals. And now something that has caused some to think that the light is shining a little brighter on their weekends. Two self-professed supporters of this is actually a different story that I'm going to read first, and that is two self-professed supporters of the AFPAC leveled some hostile accusations and denunciations at me because I had the gall to ask questions about why Michelle Malkin would throw away potentially millions of dollars in earnings by associating with people that, heretofore, and I believe that this is still the case, are advocates for the white race. These two individuals, though, assured me that they are AFPAC supporters, they are participants, and that AFPAC is a certified civic nationalist organization. If this is true, if what I believe that these guys are still advocates for the white race, if that is no longer true, this will be the first time in history that the white man has grown a pair only to self-castrate. Let's see what we have here. This is about abortion industry to the Supreme Court. Women don't need safety standards when their wombs are being scraped out. The lawyers representing the abortion providers cemented a new reality that the abortion industry doesn't want safe, legal, and rare. It wants unsafe legally. On Wednesday, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in its first abortion case since the confirmation of Justice Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh. While outside the high courts, Senator Chuck stoked the anger of abortion apologists by threatening the newest justices. Inside the courtroom, the lawyers representing the abortion, and by the way, the language, of course, is written by a conservative, so this is not my fault. Representing the abortion providers cemented a new reality that the abortion industry doesn't want safe, legal, and rare. It wants unsafe legally. Quote, unsafe legally, close quote. The thing that is important to understand about this, ladies and gentlemen, is often this topic veers off into the, well, what communities are actually getting the most abortions? That is called collateral damage for the anti-whites, ladies and gentlemen. The obvious focus of the abortion industry is to kill white babies. All of the messaging, all of the mean pathogens are targeted at white women. It's all about telling white women that you're going to be better, happier, stronger, smarter, have a fabulous life if you don't have children, if you forego or don't for your youth and then even into your middle age, you are going to have a better life. All of this is targeted at white women. We see the ads. I've talked about it twice now. This will be time number 3 when it's this ignorant this travel commercial where the guy in the red jacket is with 2 women, white women, and then there's a white woman by a pool and they're all roughly the same age. And she is just it's a glorious scenario by the pool, having a professional photographer take pictures of her while she poses in what is presented to be this absolutely wonderful life. And then in a gray screen, the other two white women that have children running around are made to look idiotic, and they ask, how did she end up there and we're here? And then he says condoms to these ladies, all of them twits and enemies of our people and Western civilization for even participating in this commercial, the making of it. So when it comes to abortion, it is not about all of these other races. It's never been about, it's been about us, because the abortion came along with the anti-white lie, the mean pathogens, to all of our white women that your life is going to be better if you never have children, and instead you allow your womb to go as barren as the desert, and then you collect nothing but cats with cat scratch fever for the rest of your life. And so that is the abortion industry. We have two individuals who just down the street the other day contracted this virus, which we're going to be talking to a little bit more in just a bit, the coronavirus. They were attending the very profound in size and power, but really no power whatsoever, because we're not supposed to ever talk about their power, over at APAC. And the place was full, many thousands of people. They were packed in there, and two folks decided to show up. I think they might have both been from New York. And of course, a lot of elected representatives, a lot of very powerful people were there, as are always there. And these individuals, of course, were just spreading corona around to everyone, and not even picking up the tab for all of that beer. And we'll see how many of them actually come down with corona and what kind of damage it does for them. But there is a lot to talk about when we get to the corona portion of the show, because all of this, 100% of it, is to blame on anti-whiteism, and that is how you should frame it. That is how we should approach coronavirus. Make no mistake, the anti-whites are busily framing it right now as anti-white, and that we are responsible, we are at guilt, that any non-whites suffer, it is our fault. So we need to get on top of this and out in the front. And staying on the subject of these individuals throwing this APAC, we have this ADL writing articles, and then everybody, of course, picking up these articles and posting them everywhere. And it says here, anti-white slur, white supremacist. The translation here is the antagonist in the anti-white narrative. Robert Sturkson, we'll just call him Xerxes because he is a dumbass, interrupted the Democratic presidential candidate, Senator Bernie, the Colonel Sanders, on Thursday, rally in Phoenix, Arizona, when he waved a Nazi flag behind Sanders like a true dumbass. Fellow rally attendees quickly pulled the flag from Xerxes' hands, and security teams removed him from the Arizona Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Xerxes of Arizona is a self-described, quote, idiot who has harassed a range of Jewish and Muslim organizations and events, absolutely solidifying in the real world, instantiating the real world, the anti-white narrative for who knows how many millions of our people who have been infected for the totality of their lives with movies and TV shows and books about this ominous presence that is everywhere and nowhere, and therefore we all have to be fired from our jobs. We all have to train our replacements, like at AT&T right now. We all have to suffer because there's this giant ominous threat in fictional land, and then you have absolute dipshits like Xerxes here going out and throwing a Nazi flag up because he is an idiot. Senator Sanders, who would be the first Jewish presidential nominee, but of course not the first Israeli president of the United States, because that goes to Donald, and is one of only a few Jewish candidates to run for the country's highest office, has spoken publicly in recent months about the importance of his Jewish heritage. Really? Really? They're allowed to talk about it? I've never heard that before. And about his father who immigrated. Let me guess, before I read the next sentence, he's going to be a Holocaust survivor. And about his father who immigrated to the U.S. from Poland in 1921. Many of the family members who remained in Poland were murdered by the Nazis in World War II. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Xerxes is going to be the reason why your YouTube channel gets censored from YouTube. It's going to be the reason why they cut the tongue out of your mouth. You know where to find him to send him lovely messages or to make sure you tickle him to death for being such an idiot and essentially instantiating and proving to the rest of our brothers and sisters of eggs out there that the anti-white narrative is true. Thanks so much, Xerxes. You are a dumbass. The Facebook group known as No White Guilt has changed its name to Adrian's Go Free and No White Guilt Discussion Group. I hope this will resolve some of the problems that we have been having, because I continue to receive messages asking me, why is this policy? Why do I think this way? Why do I think that way? And even though I have continually said here that I don't mod the group, I don't control the group, I don't run the group, and I've only been there once, I think I've posted one message. Even though I continue to say this, I continue to receive messages from people that are either subversives and because these people are messaging others saying that, oh, I had this disagreement with Adrian and therefore Jason is responsible, or Adrian did this and therefore Jason is responsible. And I have asked this person to post regularly, and I have seen screenshots of posts saying that I have nothing to do with the group, I don't run the group, I don't mod the group, it's not my group. Yet people continue to write me. So Adrian has, and all of those people, by the way, if you're one of those people who are spreading these things, we now know you for either a subversive or somebody below 100 IQ points, because we cannot say enough here that I don't run the group, control the group. I'm not responsible for your conversations you had with Adrian. I am not looking into it. I am busy 100% of every minute of the day, and I sleep less and less. So this group is no longer named No White Guilt. It's now Adrian's Go Free and No White Guilt Discussion Group. There are other Facebook groups that are coming up and focusing on going free as well. Maybe you'll fit in better there if you didn't like Adrian's group. Some of the people who had complaints, though, who wrote to me about Adrian's particular group, complained about things that they really shouldn't be complaining about. First of all, if the group is focused on going free, that's what it's about. You shouldn't be posting things in such a group that are outside of that purview. So if there's a new group that comes up and whoever's running that group wants to talk about going free, wants to talk about the lexicon, wants to talk about the dialectics, wants to talk about your interaction with others and if you having success and giving each other tips, then that's what the group is about. Do not write me and say, well, they didn't allow me to post my Nazi marching video. You shouldn't be posting that. You should put that away in some place that you revere it if you care that much about it and it actually has meaning for you. If you're not just a saboteur who wants to post those things because you want the rest of the world to look at it and see the anti-white bad guy, the anti-white boogeyman in our midst, or is the definition of who we are when we're going free. We're normal white folks. We care about white well-being and we're going to protect our children. And that's going to mean in part that we are not going to use the symbols, use the language, use the etc. that make us look just like the bad guy in the anti-white narrative. Because remember, and I'll continue to say this, even though you've done research and you say that this was lies and this is truth and this means actually this and it doesn't mean actually that, no one else knows that. You have lost the ability to see yourself as millions will see you. They see what they have learned for the totality of their lives. So when you put up that one little symbol that for you means X, for them, it means murdering children. It means bayoneting babies. It means setting people on fire. It means all of these ridiculous things. So why would you do that to yourself? Why would you do that, more importantly, to the symbols that you cherish? Why would you put it out there for people to think that way about it? Why would you undermine what we are doing here for white well-being? If you want a group where you can post these sorts of things, then start one, find one. You don't need to come to a community that is focusing on white well-being and going free and post a bunch of things where we expressly say that it's time to take those things and put them in a place of reverence in your home rather than as pearls before swine. Now, anyone who would disagree with that is somebody who is either just too dumb to get it or is a subversive and is intentionally trying to undermine the work we are doing here for white people. For everybody else there who has had problems with Adrian or any of the other group people who start groups or mod groups or anything like that, they could be wrong, you could be right, or whatever else it is going on. It has nothing to do with me. We encourage everyone to use the lexicon and dialectics of going free, what we teach here, what we share in Go Free, because they have immense success. And we'll be talking about those in just another minute, after we mentioned briefly about the Greek government on Saturday had 600 anti-white migrants, these militarized migrants, aided by Turkish army and military police. They threw tear gas at the Greek side, fires lit in an attempt to destroy the border. There are videos, of course, everything I'm saying naturally is not true. You'll have to check with YouTube, but there are videos of Greek military vehicles trying to pull down the border. In the sea, supposedly, or apparently, the Greek Navy is trying to stop the boats from crossing to get into Greece this way, perhaps because the Greek military is actually shooting the waters in front of these boats. They are boarding them and taking apart the engines, so the people are left adrift in the sea. But the attack essentially continues at the border, and there was some other news, and perhaps it will come back to me in a moment, that is taking place. But they continue to have there were citizens of Greek island, I think it was Lesbos, they set on fire another one of these under construction militarized migrant centers, resorts, where the Greek government was going to bring these people in, these lovely, wonderful doctors and engineers, and house them in wonderful accommodations paid for by our brothers and sisters in Greece. And these people decided that they were having nothing of it. And it seems like matches found their way, and probably a little bit of petrol, into these locations, and they burnt to the ground. And there's some videos of these NGO employees trying to leave. And the Greek population were making modifications to these vehicles. Specifically, in some cases, they were making sure that there was plenty of ventilation in the vehicle. So they were removing the windows and windshields and things from these vehicles so that these NGO workers would be able to breathe clearly the coronavirus as they went back to the militarized migrants and their Turkish overlords, Xerxes, Erdogan on the other side of the border. So a big thank you and hail to our Greek brothers and sisters who have finally said enough is enough. And ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake, if you are beginning to think foolishly that these governments are going to turn around across the West and start representing our people, you see the reality is that these structures are continuing to be built to house these militarized migrants. The problem, of course, was that you have a hot-headed Arabic anti-white individual in the form of Erdogan, who decided that he was going to threaten, as we see is the normal bravado of this grandiloquent speech that you see across the Middle East. And he said, I'm going to unleash the hordes, military style, on you. And right now he's being chided, knuckles being rapped. Remember, Erdogan, you're supposed to say women and suffering babies, and you're only supposed to get videos of that so that all of the women of both sexes in the West will begin to complain and wring their hands and their garments about they should all be let in. They should all be let. No, honey, you cannot go to the border and with your flares and any other tools you have to stop them from crossing. These are just women and children, and they need to be able to fleece and rape us all they want, just as long as they stop crying. So let's talk about quickly about, I do want to mention I received this lovely birthday card. The Fraulein Dresden sent this. Isn't this wonderful? She doesn't know when my birthday is. And so she just randomly sent, no one does, randomly sent this, inspired, of course, by Tap's birthday. Lovely card with some lovely writing inside. And I wish I had brought it upstairs, but she sent me some of the most aromatic, it's absolutely ambrosial, from the gods, coffee beans. I'll have to get the name to share it with you all. She said that it is indeed her favorite coffee, and I can see why. Even before I liked drinking coffee, the smell, it was the best. And now it's even, I love it even more. I have here, actually, a fire has ripped through a refugee shelter. Oh, refugees. On the Greek island of Lesbos, as tensions over a surge in immigration or migration from Turkey, it's all it is, it's just some migration from Turkey, continue to rise. How many of you all have seen that video where the guy, he's trying to explain the anti-white, non-white at the border, and he's yelling across to the Greek guards, we don't even want to be, in English, we don't even want to be in your country. We just want to get beyond to where they will give us more things in Germany and UK and Sweden. And they have all of those white women who are just, they can't stop throwing themselves on their backs for us. We just want to get beyond. Just let us go through. Please let us go through. I salute every single Greek person. I wish I could be there on the border with them right now. Flames engulf the One Happy. It was actually called, ladies and gentlemen, the One, quote, One Happy Family Center near the island's capital on Saturday. It's not clear how the fire started. No casualties have been reported. In recent days, there have been hostility toward migrants, little brown babies with tears washing down the smoke-laden faces on Lesbos after an increase in arrivals from Turkey. Hundreds of militarized anti-white non-whites have attempted to reach the island since Erdogan. Xerxes said last week he was opening the doors to the militarized migrants so that they could invade Europe. But of course, we want them to invade. I use the word invade here just as a dysphemism for empowering us, diversifying us. Of course, this is the kind of diversity that is dyssynergistic. It makes us less than the sum of our parts. You know, the thing about the word dyssynergy, I haven't been able to find it. Can anybody else find that in the dictionary? I've used that for many years. Dyssynergistic, making us less than the sum of our parts. And I can't find it in dictionaries I've looked at. And why does nobody use this? It is absolutely effective. Use it in your conversations, please. On Saturday, Erdogan partially revised his position. You see, the knuckle rapping has begun. He ordered the Turkish Coast Guard to stop migrants from crossing the Aegean Sea to Greece because it is unsafe to do so. He's worried about them. Worried. And you saw the worry in the videos coming out of Turkey of these people having their stores set on fire and being beaten by Turkish military to get them to mosey on to Europe and don't settle here. Of course, he has brought them in intentionally knowing that he was loading the gun or loading the flamethrower with the petrol tank. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is in World of Warcraft. YouTube knows the truth. I don't know any of the news, and YouTube will give you all of the answers to anything you want. Meanwhile, clashes have again erupted at the land border between Greece and Turkey. There appears to have been no change in Turkey's position with regard to letting the militarized anti-white, non-white migrants entering Greece via that route. So when we're talking about these groups and whether or not these Facebook groups and whether or not if you go into such a group, you should be focusing on the things that are working. I say again that if you are going to go into one of this Adrian person's group or any of the new groups that are popping up for White Wellbeing or Going Free, I strongly admonish you to talk about productive things, to talk with each other so that you can learn from each other. That's one of the suggestions I have in the book Going Free, is that you are supposed to talk with each other so that you can learn from other people's successes and failures and they can learn from yours, employing the dialectics and the lexicon here rather than using all of the old verbiage, failed verbiage, all of the old symbolism that makes you look like you want to cook and eat babies. If you want to do that sort of thing, then find a group where they do that. There's no reason to show up and get into a community that could be productive for White Wellbeing and say, let me show you my favorite black and white pictures. And here's the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. If for your power, your courage, your feeling of success, your feeling of strength, your feeling of encouragement, you need to resort to black and white photos, you're a loser. Move on to something that's productive, something that is real today. Stop fantasizing about ancient successes that are only going to make you look bad. Lady Sagehawk writes here, hey, Jason, I finished Go Free. I tested this out in the middle of the book. So she tested out the strategies in the middle of the book before she was actually done. And I did not do well. Poor technique. Accidentally used some of their words. But I still won. I was very surprised. I've been watching Sticks, Hex, and Hammer 666 for years, and he has written a book on memetics, basically how to use memes, inoculate yourself against memes, make counter memes, etc. But he never created a lexicon to go with it. So it was not effective, she writes. The way you pair this idea of meme warfare with our words is truly what I think makes Go Free so good and effective. My latest experience using Go Free, I still talked about facts. However, I did not engage in their accusations and insisted on the preservation of Western kind being the moral stance. I also pointed out what they were doing. All that was said in response was a wiki page on how white genocide is silly and fake, and passive-aggressive comments about my character. I wasn't perfect, but did better than my first time. And remember, on the first time, she still won. I am truly surprised at how fast they fold, meaning anti-whites. I am truly surprised at how fast they fold in on themselves, even if I don't get things perfect. If I get a really good conversation, I will screenshot it and send it to you for your victory collection. Well done, she writes. No, well done to you, Lady Sagehawk. And thank you very much for sharing this testimony with us of your conversations that you are having as you are practicing the lexicon of going free, and you are treating yourself for your meme pathogens, even as you are having these arguments with the anti-whites. And you see, ladies and gentlemen, as Lady Sagehawk showed here, the anti-whites lose. All they could do then is make passive, these anti-white character assassination kind of comments and just look at a wiki page. That's all fantasy. They lose. They're not on the high moral horse anymore. They have to make an argument, and they didn't even bother making the argument to her that they are in the moral position, because when you take these positions, they can't be in the moral position anymore. That will change the mind of millions of vagues if you just get out of these old styles, these old vehicles, these old conversations, these old facts and whatever, no matter how true they are. Remember the word verisimilitude. It doesn't matter how true something is. If the other people don't know it or they don't believe it to be true, it's not going to work on them. I've likened it before to turtles. And if turtles really ruled the world, you happened upon the meeting place where giant turtles were talking about controlling the world, there would be no use telling anybody, because no one would believe that. There is no use telling anybody about your deep research into this or that or the other thing, because they've been taught that all of that's evil. And in fact, they've been taught that you're going to come to them and lie about those things. So let's start winning like these great folks who are sharing their testimonies. Accidental Observation writes here, Jason's lexicon has been a huge, all caps, innovation in the struggle for peace. That, folks, is a observation for accidental observation of the success that he or she is having when having these conversations, using the lexicon and the dialectics of going free. Babbling Brook writes here, listen to this. Just recently found out we are expecting our first baby in September. Isn't that marvelous? Let's get a round of applause for Babbling Brook going free and going to be inoculating their child with, and here's a quick thought. If Babbling Brook decided, rather than inoculate the child that's on the way with going free, rather than have this baby go free, so that we get these letters being written to mom and dad about, Mom and Dad, I love you so much. Thank you for teaching me about white well-being. Rather than getting that from the children, because they're not teaching the child to go free and inoculating them against the meme pathogens. What if these parents decided, well, let's just show these children a bunch of black and white photos. Let's tell them about this other political structure or this other economic structure. Let's just tell them about all of that. And then what's going to happen is what? They're going to go out into the world, and everybody else in the world is going to say, no, that's a bunch of lies that you've heard from your parents. Your parents are brainwashed from some evil people. And so that's why they think these things. They reared you with these things. Look at everybody else in the world. All of the documents in the world say the exact opposite happened in history. All of the documents, other dark documents, all of that says. So how many of those children are going to come away and say that the whole world is wrong, but mom and dad's view on this is 100% right? No, you want to inoculate your children against the mean pathogens so that when they experience them, what you have inoculated them against will prove that mom and dad are right. That's what you want to do. So thank you very much for sharing that, babbling Brooke, that wonderful news, and congratulations to you both. Goyle Gone Wild writes this: little white pill, in Italy, our folk are buying up abandoned villages and rebuilding them for young families. It's beginning to be a trend. That is another magnificent piece of information, and thank you so much for sharing that with us just the other day. Let's make sure that we get Going Free out to all of those folks, because it's not going to do them any good to have a little homestead out there without a psychological defense against the psychological warfare of anti-whiteism being waged against them. And finally, here from Luke, we have and this is an absolutely great story, Luke writing, "Sir, you gave me the power to tackle anti-whites. Just using the words from our lexicon leaves them speechless. I'm so glad to have gone free. Shaking off the shackles of society feels like a huge weight has been lifted. I've been a drug user since I was 12 years old, many different ones over the years, but cannabis was my one true vice. Drugs have single-handedly ruined my life, from dropping out of school to being homeless and even imprisoned. It's been 10 years since I was locked away. In that time, I have managed to buy an apartment, have children, and now box for charity with the hope of turning professional. Since joining the White Wellbeing community, I've dropped from spending 500 quid a month to around 50 quid a month, and I'm aiming to quit by the end of the year." So this is the money spent on cannabis. "I couldn't have done it without you and your community. Feel free to read this out." Absolutely was going to read that magnificent testimony out, and my love and my thanks and my gratitude go out to you. Most importantly, for the fact that your testimony, the success that you are having, and the sharing of this testimony is going to help others now. They're going to see the value of going free. They're going to see the value in using the lexicon and using the verbiage, the dialectics, in treating themselves for the mean pathogens. They're going to see the benefit of a positive approach to our lives as individuals and our lives as a community, and therefore circling right back on us again as our lives of individuals. I wrote back to Luke, and then he wrote back one more time, that at least I've seen so far: "I couldn't have done it without you as a role model and the community, who are absolutely amazing. We truly have some amazing and talented people in the white positive sphere. I'm currently helping my mom go free, and I've already woken up my partner. Me and my girlfriend always tune in to watch you. Thank you for your kind words. You are a true legend." Well, Luke, you are a true legend. And every one of your words that you have shared here are going to help who knows how many people, because each one is going to lead to another testimony that will reach more folks out there in our world. And as we grow this way, we will grow stronger in a way that is resilient, that is lasting, that is real. It's not another trend. It's not another silly this or silly that. It is something that builds families. And that, my friends, is a heartbeat for a community and will sustain us throughout all that comes in the future, not the least of which are things like pandemics making their way out of China and elsewhere around the world. So thank you so much, Luke, for the struggles that you are making to become a better you, and therefore making your wife a better person, your mother a better person, your children will be better people. This will truly build our community. You are recapturing your destiny, my friend, and thereby we are all recapturing our destiny. Let's get a big round of applause for Luke and the hard work that he is doing to improve himself and to be a member of this community and improve our people by reaching out to those around him first in those tightest circles of influence, family members and children and the like, making the kind of difference that we need to make. Thank you so much, brother. Now let's see, what do we have next? I think what we're going to do next is we will get into the coronavirus, and I will get to your comments. Remember that entropy is open. If you are trying to get onto entropy, it is the no white guilt entropy. It is not the gardening with NWG entropy. So if you're having a problem, you are on the wrong entropy. Entropy stream.live. I think it's /app/no white guilt. If the mods could please share it. It's also down, or should be down, in the description. We're going to be talking about coronavirus. And ladies and gentlemen, maybe you'll remember last Sunday, I mentioned that I speculated, was there a doppelganger? Was there is there another form of coronavirus that is much more deadly than the one that we are hearing most about? And then what happened just a few days later? And that is reason, application of reason, logic, and evidence, and sober interpretation and cogitation. That is how we come to those truths. And let's now listen to another song, and we will be right back.
You mistreated me. I tried to be fair, but you don't believe in doing your share. But I've learned my lesson, and now I can say the white guilt in my heart is dying away, is dying away. Your movies don't thrill me like they used to do. Your words only chill me, I'm glad that we're through. My heart was yearning, but now I can say the white guilt in my heart is dying away, is dying away. You fooled me a while. You thought you were wise. You even believed I fell for your lies. But the trick's turned on you. Now gladly I say the white guilt in my heart is dying away, it's dying away. Your movies don't thrill me like they used to do. Your words only chill me, I'm glad that we're through. My heart, it was yearning, but now I can say the white guilt in my heart is dying away, is dying away, is dying away.
That song is too damn short. I love it. I have to admit that of the three I played on Friday, that song was the best. And that, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is the Southerner coming out in me. And I asked for potentially, I normally don't like country music because it is just so pathetic. But always saying that the white male is somehow less without the woman, somehow pathetic without the woman. That is what's pathetic. All of those male country singers. How is a single woman attracted to a male country singer? as pathetic as they are. I don't understand it. It must be just the pretty faces. It must be like, well, he's pretty, so therefore she's going to be attracted to him. But talk about gelded losers. They need to be singing about, like, when I was driving down the road, the woman I was on a date with, and she decided to say something where she had to leave the car right away, and she was allowed to leave the car right away. That's how men need to act. So that song, though, was kick-ass, and you could tell. I mean, I love 80s rock, hard rock, metal, fantastic music. Of course, my favorite in a totally different league, of course, is classical music, because that's my soul. Speaks directly to the biospirit. But bluegrass and bluegrass / country, with that sound there, and if you make that proud, make that white positive, work in the lexicon of going free, man, that would be amazing music, and that would wake up a lot of our folks. You think about all those people out there who of our community, rather, let me just say, of our race, and that like country music, that like bluegrass. It's many millions. If we had proud music that had that sound to it, there would be a sea change in a big way. And we need to appeal to all of our different tastes as a people, and that is certainly a big community. And of all of the white race around the world, there is still quite a peoplehood to Southerners. I mean, we have an identity, of course, like that's being sullied everywhere. But with that identity there, that peoplehood, if you can tap in with music, it would really make a big difference. So let's see if we missed anything from earlier. I'm going to look at your comments. We are having some technical difficulties here and there, but we're going to take a look at, and try to take a mature look at what's going on with coronavirus, and give you all some advice and some updates as I see them and as they are coming in. I will be checking for super chats, or my apologies, I'll be checking for financial gifts. And you can do that by way of Cash App for 6% charge on Cash App to gift financially there, a 15% charge on Ko-fi to financially gift there, financially gift the cause of White Wellbeing there. We have been demonetized on YouTube, so that has significantly undermined the liquidity, just as the anti-whites have planned for it to. And of course, over on Entropy, a charge of 15% to financially gift to White Wellbeing. I will take a look here at any of the rest of the notes I have and see if there's anything else that we can talk about before we dive headlong into the wonderful world of coronavirus. It looks like Fornull himself is here. Great to see you, dear sir and friend. Zendrafen is here. Guten Abend to you as well. And wonderful to see you. DM is here. Please tell us what she said. Oh, you want to know about the girl that had to leave? She just said she's apologized to me since. So it's but I will tell you this, all of you guys out there, this was not some unlovely woman. This was a woman who was, I guess is, but I'm talking about the story of back then, as tall as I am, and beautiful long legs, beautiful long hair, a lovely face, and the kind of look that when we were out, and I'll give one example. We were out at a gas station and getting some petrol, and it was kind of elevated, and then the road was a bit lower down, and so it was a very easy view of where we were on the corner pump, and we were both of us standing out there, and vehicles driving by with guys were whistling and hollering and everything at this woman. So she was a good-looking woman, but the looks are, to me, are immaterial when it comes to whether they're going to be anti-white, because the moment they are anti-white, that's it. They're uglier than anything else. to me. They lose all of their value. It's always been that way. It was that way when I was in junior high school even. I didn't understand. I'd finally come to that age, starting to want little girls to want to say hello to me and say my name. And I wasn't thinking sexually, but I was developing that biological desire to, hey, I want them around. I want them to like me. And they didn't, because I was standing up for our people. And in fact, they really disliked me. But the other guys around me, the other little boys, had no character whatsoever. They would just tell the little girls whatever the little girls wanted to hear, so that they could get their attention and get their names said and have them say hello to them. So we were having a conversation, I guess, and I was trying to figure out where she was on the issue of our people and our well-being and this sort of thing. This is back to the story of the girl in the car. And some of you probably have heard this before. And she was just in a bad mood. I don't know no other way to put it. But I'm not the kind of person who is just going to, I'm not the kind of guy who's just going to say, oh, she's in a bad mood. I'm just going to start saying, okay, dear, over and over. I mean, if it gets to that point, I'm just leaving. But so she would say something, I would say something. There was no yelling or anything like that. But then she finally said something that was enough. And I wanted to demonstrate how well the brakes worked in the car, and in a safe way. And they worked marvelously. She was a bit surprised by that. She was in a safe area. She was within walking distance of her vehicle. So I allowed her to abruptly leave my vehicle and walk the rest of the way to her car to go home. And then many years later, I was at a restaurant bar, and I was with some friends, and they were all eyeballing some woman. Everybody in the room was checking out this woman, and they were saying, God, she's amazing. Who's going to go over there and hit on her? And then I saw that it was her. And she walked up to me, and it was funny because everybody I was with, the guys I was with, they couldn't believe, they were like, oh my God, that she came up to me. And she came up and apologized and said that indeed she was essentially in a bad mood. And she was just being a brat, is what she said. And so that is how a man behaves. You just get away from them. You invite them to leave. So let's see. We had some applause. Isn't this Luke amazing? I mean, this story is absolutely amazing. His turnabout. Very proud of him. I see Marcia is here. Bigot Smalls. Lisa. Two Little Fish. The great Groundhog Fury. Skyrocketing like a Saturn V rocket to glory and celebrity within the white positive sphere. Great to see you. Nancy Drew is here. Apollo. Timmy is here. Of course, we mentioned the great Fortinall, already a northern star in our community. Is that Binky Bandit? JC Stalling, great to see you. JK160 says, go free. John is here. Never felt guilty. Aunt Sally, great to see you. DF is here. What do you all want to talk about while we're together? This isn't going to be another 3 to 6 hour stream. I have way too many things to do. We have some things that have to be planned and that are going to take place in the next couple of days. And with coronavirus, there is more planning involved because more steps have to be taken to stay safe during these things. And I've got a lot of work to do on the machines. And just by the way, let me ask you all now, are you seeing any glitching in the stream so far? I mean, we've been going for just over an hour. Has there been any glitching? Have there been any moments where pauses or gone completely black? Let me know if that's been the case for you. Ray is here, and thank you so much for moderating, good sir. Nordic Warrior is here. Seaver Hamlin is here. Great to see you, dear brother. And asked for a wrench, and I have returned it to you. I don't really have access to the gardening channel. I can see it right now. We have, as I say, a couple of glitches going on because we are doing all of this other background work that is consuming quite a bit of time. In fact, I was talking with very briefly messaging with a friend of mine, and he was saying, well, this is what our people do the best, when it comes to things like a virus, when it comes to these sort of events. And I'm not saying that coronavirus is one of those events, but when it comes to something that requires a great deal of planning and preparation and et cetera, that our people do this the best. And I had to inform him that what I've been 100% of my time doing is serving you all, providing you all with the information that we need to go free, because it doesn't matter. And we'll talk about it in just a second when it comes to going free. Now is the time more than ever when something like this is taking place, to spread going free, to help those around us to go free. Now is the time. And one of the biggest reasons for that is because people are now doubting the authority structure. They're saying, these people can't keep me safe. These anti-white elites can't keep me safe. Anti-whiteism. Many of our people will realize that anti-whiteism, but they won't be able to name it properly. And you don't want civnats to get to them with the names, are the cause of this. They'll be the cause of why you or your mother or your grandmother, whatever, dies as a result of this. Let's make sure everybody knows right now. And we need to make many more. If you make videos, if you whatever, we need to get this out. We'll talk about it in a minute. But I had to inform my friend that regrettably, I have not been able to do any of the prepping or buying of all of the different alcohol swabs that you could possibly need, the things that I was recommending for you all to do as far as prepping is concerned. Haven't been able to do any of that because I've been doing all of this, working on the machines. And so Lord willing, things won't get, and I still don't think they're going to get as bad as some people are saying. Seaver says, this is a great song. Both of those songs were just absolutely amazing. And Greek Tribesman is here. Great to see you. Bob is here. Dr. Mordecai is here, I think. TikTok is here. Justice for All is here. Let me stroll through your comments over on the White Guild page, and I can take a look at the other ones on gardening. Kimberly is here. Wonderful to see you, dear lady. Hansa, hello to you. Dissident Agnostic says, great song. Watchrider is here. Great to see you, Watchrider. Mandy, hello to you, dear lady. Wonderful to see you. Trade Skillsman is here. Pants Monster. We have a lot of new folks showing up. I've had a lot of people who are new and saying that they're just watching from the background or listening. And welcome to all of you. Mr. Booga is here. Dr. Jellyfingers, great to see you as well. That's curious. It looks like, okay. Seaver has a wrench. You can always donate the food supplies. Seaver's saying that I should do what I need to do to be safe. I'm afraid I just don't have the time, my friend. And when I've gone to the stores around here just to buy necessities, you know, the things I need all the time, and then I stroll over to the aisle where there are things like isopropyl alcohol and alcohol swabs or wipes and masks, and all, it's all gone. The shelves here outside the nation's capital absolutely bare. I mean, it's been that way. Brand Danger is here. High Speed Drifter. Lordy Sparker. Coconut is here. Great to see you. All right. Reptile says, hello, great sir. Great stream as usual. Well, thank you so very much. So far, what do you all think about opening up with the news like that and then getting to you all, and then of course here, I guess the bigger subject of coronavirus. We'll read a couple of things from there and then try to get some balance for what is happening. In fact, why don't we go ahead and start? If you all have questions about any of the subject matter that we covered here earlier in the show when we first got started, or anything else that is on your mind or questions you have, now's the time to ask. Because we're not going to be here for 3 to 6 hours. Regrettably, I just have too much to do. But we're going to have some interesting things coming up in the next week and 2 that you all will find very interesting, taking a great deal of my time, preventing yours truly from being able to get a sleep. Let me just also say, this book about these getting together dances is magnificent by Jeff. Liv contributed, our very own Jared George contributed. It looks really exciting. It's free to download, so go ahead and download that book. I had an opportunity to skim through it. It looks like it has some great tips, advice, and I have a feeling that we are going to be able to make some matches by holding these sorts of get-togethers, these dances. I'll tell you all a little story to show you ambition coupled with naivete. There was when I was a young man, 15. I'm still a young man, right? Those of you who are older are saying, "What do you mean when you were a young man?" I had 15. I was 15 years of age. I was in high school, and I have a picture of it. In fact, the exact moment while I'm doing this, I should find the picture and show you all. Maybe next time, or the time after that we are together, I will share the picture. But it was just, the picture wasn't planned. That was just by accident. But I saw an old firehouse that was not. It was unoccupied. And that firehouse had been used, talking about Jeff's experience, had been used as a dance hall on the weekends when they would pull all the fire trucks out. And this is when Northern Virginia was almost entirely white. And all of the young people, they would go to the firehouse, they would open up the bay doors, the speakers would play the music, and they would dance and court and have a good time. Well, that firehouse had long since been too small and unable to serve the community, and I think had been sold to private owner, and it had been for sale forever, and it was unoccupied. Or no, I guess it was for sale. The sign on it was for sale for a long time. So I thought, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lease this facility from whoever owns it. And that person and I will come up with an agreement. They will take a percentage of whatever I earn from the sales at the door. I figured, well, what we would do is we would essentially do like they had done back in the day, but we would, instead of it being free for everybody to show up and have a dance, we would charge at the door a cover charge and play music on the inside. It wasn't going to be like I didn't envision like a bizarre laser light show, inner city kind of an environment, nothing like that. But something a little bit more white, I don't know, a little bit more pristine. And then the owner, instead of this place sitting empty, the owner's paying. I had asked some of the adults, remember I'm 15 years old. I'd asked some of the adults, what does a owner of a commercial property, what do they have to pay? And so I knew it's things like taxes, things like insurance, all of these sorts of things they're paying. And a facility like that there could even be some EPA issues that they're having to pay on as well. So who knows how many things. So I figured, why wouldn't this guy or woman, why wouldn't they just want a little bit of income, something coming in from this to offset the expenses? And this would be an easy way. And then they could help a young man make some money and get started in life. And so I went to the payphone. This of course was before all kids had cell phones. I went to the payphone at my high school and I called the number. And it just so happened that when I called the number, and I was on the phone, the staff for the school's yearbook or whatever walked by and they said, "Oh, can we get a picture?" And I would just said, yeah, I'm on the phone. They took a picture of me there. That's how there ended up being a picture of it, the moment. And with my ambition and naivete, I asked the realtor on the other end of the phone who answered. I said, "Here's my idea. I would like to, lease this out, and I'd like to. Can you put me in touch with the owner?" And she said, "No, the owner doesn't want to talk to anybody. The owner just wants to sell the property." And I said, "Well, but here's my idea. I really want to lease it, and then just like I explained to all of you." And the realtor said, "No, I'm sorry. The owner just wants to lease. I mean, just wants to sell, no lease, no no dancing at the facility. And so I said, in pure naivete, I said, really, well, how much? How much could it be? Does he want? And she said, I think it was 1.5 million. And I remember the way that landed on me. I had no idea. Yeah, I was just purely naive. And I thought $1.5 million. Well, 15-year-old Jason couldn't afford that or even fathom how I could get $1.5 million. Working class family that I came from together. I would have to get together hundreds and hundreds of working class families for them to all contribute a little bit for this to come together. So that was the story about the dance hall. But this book, I think, is going to potentially provide folks with a lot of hope and some opportunities to meet some new people. And we really salute Jeff and everybody, Tony, who worked on the book, and Liv and Jared, George, and whoever else contributed to it. Thank you all for the work you're doing for White Wellbeing. Nancy Drew says here, since the American government subsidizes Google, which owns YouTube, shouldn't they remove funds since YouTube arbitrarily censor people and USA does not believe in censorship? Precisely, Nancy. All of the big tech, all of it is funded and subsidized by our tax dollars. So therefore, no discrimination should be permissible on any of the platforms, not Google, not Facebook, not YouTube, not any of the subsidiaries, none of them. It's legal nowhere, but we have no law in our country. We have no government. White people have no government. We have no protections. The anti-whites do to us what they want. If this were reversed, if the YouTube were heavily populated by non-white people who, and the scenario is reversed, where they're the ones being oppressed and they want to have channels, they would absolutely be able to argue that this is subsidized by tax dollars and therefore should not be permissible, and guarantee you that if we try to go onto a university campus, if you haven't already read an argument this argument, in any particular cases, you can let me know if you have. But if we could try to go onto a university's premises, anti-whites will say, no, federal dollars go here. They'll argue the federal dollars go here, and therefore this should be excluded. When in the very next breath, if they want to have somebody anti-white show up, and remember, ladies and gentlemen, they did back in this United States, and they've done this elsewhere across the West. When they wanted to have anti-white show up, they appealed not only to our sense of fairness to get us to submit, and particularly our women of both sexes to get them to submit to these anti-white arguments, but they also made the legal case that, look, if the school's taking money, then that means that the people who want to speak there have the right to free speech, and so they should be allowed to show up. And so all that matters is the reality. There's the conservatives and nationalists and patriots. All of these folks will look at these things and they will shake their heads and they will say, this shouldn't be so. But at the end of the day, all that matters is whether you win the game or not. Excuses don't matter. It shouldn't be this way, doesn't matter. Excuses do not matter. So that is why we do what we have to do to get to that finish line, to continue the metaphor of recapturing our destiny. Thank you, Nancy. It's a great point. Did I mention Brant Danger is here? Great to see you, good friend. Bigot Smalls gives me a thumbs up. Greek Tribesman says, cool shirt. There was no glitching today. Well, thank you very much for sharing. No glitching on Sally says. Everybody's saying, DM saying it's perfect. Lil Frigg is here. Let's give Lil Frigg a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, because she has been out, we won't say where, but she has been out finding posters of various types and white positive things all over the town that she lives in. Now, ladies, I'm not recommending that you all become as brave as Lil Frigg. She obviously has experience, and who knows what else she has on her side when she's out doing these things. But a big salute to Lil Frigg and the good work that she is doing for White Wellbeing. Thank you so much, dear lady. Irish Ice is here too, having the same exact problem everywhere he lives. A great hero. Traveling everywhere, using the using going free against the anti-whites and defeating them and finding posters and stickers. And so a big salute to Irish Eyes. Thank you very much for all that you're doing in service to White Wellbeing, making an actual change, not just posting Kermit memes online, doing productive things. Thank you so much. We will be the ones, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be funny because what's going to happen is we're going to end up having, as I said, homesteads all across the West, communities, cities here, towns there, 3 city blocks here. And then all of these people who are giggling like imbeciles because they're sharing black and white photos or Kermit the Frog or whatever it might be, they're suddenly going to say, huh, what? They're communities? Where are they? And you people are, it's a movement of redemption. So you're always welcome. It's like I was saying earlier when I said, you know, if all you have to share for your success is black and white images of other regimes and other periods in history, that now whatever happened in actual history is immaterial because now it sits in their anti-white narrative as something truly demonic. If that's all you have to show for your history, you're going down the wrong path and looking like a loser. You can be redeemed and become a winner. You can be like Irish Ice and Little Frig, and you can go out there and make a change in yourself and in your communities. Thank you so much for being here. Tony says, Ronnie Cameron of Propaganda TV was criticizing you harshly the other night. I fired back, but he said he wants a chance to talk to you or come on. Would you? I don't know, but it would be, and then he gives the, I don't know, but it would be an okay hand sign. Well, I have this individual. I was most kind to this individual a year back who was having a lot of difficulties in the white positive sphere, in personal life. I took time, as you all know, I'm very busy, out of my life to help guide this individual in conversations while I was working out and these problems, both public and private. Took that time, and because I care about all of you. And then he disappears for however many months, at least relative to me, disappears, and then writes me out of nowhere and tells me that I am, in a message, that I am, what was it, the verbiage? I mean, I still have it. Something like that I was an idiot. Oh, no, that was something like, Jason, you are an idiot or a liar. And those were the options, grievously insulting me because he disagreed with a position I had taken, and then writes the world and alleges some very damaging things about the work that we are doing here for White Wellbeing. We are saving lives. We're helping people improve their lives. We're reading testimonies every day. You all are experiencing it yourself. And he's grievously is harming what we are doing with these baseless allegations out of one corner of his mouth and then saying something out of the other corner of his mouth. So it'll be about a year of not doing what you said he just did, which was criticizing you harshly the other night. And there is, you know, when this sort of behavior ends and there's some maturity, then I might consider it. But you've got to do more than, you know, we talked about this idea that he has about taking over Prince Edward Island and relying on the good-naturedness of anti-whites to give away territory is infantile. The anti-whites are not going to give away anything. The argument that they don't want to be around us, and so why wouldn't they just want to give us an eye? What do you mean they don't want to? They want to inflict harm on us. There have been, you know, newsflash, there have been towns all across Western civilization, cities that were all white, and not a single time did the anti-whites say, we're not going to go there. We don't like white people. We're not going there. And especially in those southern towns, those country towns where they're proud, they got Confederate flags, where they're proud of being white. We're definitely not going there. No, they moved en masse to these places to inflict harm on us. The anti-white elites moved anti-whites from around the world en masse to these locations. Their objective is to inflict harm on us. Their objective is not to give away territory that countries have. I mean, this is just this is infantile thinking. And so it doesn't warrant, you can't demand from me time on my show. No one can do that. You have to, I mean, think about that, for Christ's sake. That's like demanding to be in your house after insulting me. After insulting me with that one, and then insulting me, repeatedly calling me a what he has alleged a cult leader, when we encourage all of you, and we, on that show that I did where I talked about what is a cult, we encourage all of you to think for yourselves. And we went down all of the list, the pointers, or the items, the criteria for what is defined as a cult, and none of it holds true here. So this is meant to aggrandize and get himself some attention. And if he's insulting me again, as you say there, Tony, then it's really just despicable and shows that he has no character whatsoever. After all that I did for him, after all the good that I did for that guy, for him to be going out and insulting me, demanding time on my shows so that he can make this infantile argument of, well, the anti-whites, they don't want to be with us. So all we have to do is have everybody around the world support Ronnie Cameron's idea to start an ethno-state on Prince Edward Island. And if we all do that, then the anti-whites will just say, well, you know what, we don't want to be around you. So in the goodness of our heart, relying on the charity of anti-whites, relying on the veracity of anti-whites, relying on the intellectual equanimity and fairness of anti-whites, give me a break. Give me a break. Thank you very much for telling me that, though, Tony. Because how many times do you have to treat someone with decency and then be insulted by them? So he just pushed off. If this is true, Tony, he just pushed it off by a few more months before I will hear anything he has to say. All right, let's see what else. Jonas is here. Great to see you, good friend. Mr. Buga says, we're in the Alamo, and Ronnie is still clinging to his grudge. Sad. Well, precisely. That's a great point. And folks, that comes from when I talk about when we break up over these and we sectarianize over these differences of opinion about religion specifically has been a big issue over the years, but also about things that make no sense whatsoever, like what form of government, what kind of economy. And then they split over this. That I have said before is like two soldiers in the Alamo in Texas, and Santa Ana is moving in, and the two guys are arguing about what the future economy of Texas is going to look like. It makes no sense whatsoever. The enemy is at the gates, and we need to worry about that now. And and honestly, we've talked about this before. We don't know the best form of government. No one has figured it out yet. We don't know the best form of economy, because the best form of government and economy is going to be cyclical and is going to change with our cycles as a people. So much brighter people who are freed of MPs are going to be the ones to figure that out in the future. We have our duty set for us. They have their duty set for them. Farrell Blonde, good to see you, and says that Spencer isn't praising Islam. I guess that was a conversation. The great Roy Danton is here. Wonderful to see you, brother. Punished says they clearly don't read Go Free, which was great, by the way. Thank you very much for that testimony. Mr. Buga says it looked as if Mark Collett was talking some sense into Ronnie, but apparently he's still clinging to the grudge against you. Yeah, he has a grudge. He obviously has a grudge because he doesn't know how to behave as an adult. He's not mature. I mean, he's demonstrating that for everybody again and again. Tony says here, fair enough, brother. He accused our community of being a cult. He did that again? Is that what you're saying, Tony? There must have been some stream recently that you all are referring to. And he says he accused our community of being a cult. He's okay, but I'd love to watch you backhand him. Well, that's all. I have been in physical altercations with boys in adult bodies that I've slapped rather than punched because I felt that they were too womanly to actually punch. Timmy says, the force is greater than the sum of our parts. I'm starting to feel racinated again. Yes, indeed. Those letters were blurring a bit for me, my friend. Reptile says, one day we'll have a Skyrider plane for White Wellbeing. We will absolutely. A lot of good is coming along, and we're very excited about that. Hansa says, we whites, specifically as such, have no representation in the government, the anti-white regime. Precisely. We need to accept that reality and then move forward with the proper questions, and therefore we will be able to arrive at the proper answers. Hansa says, you look about 28 years of age to me. I'm a pretty good judge of age by one's appearances. Well, that's very kind of you to say. All right, let's see. What else did I miss? Coconut says, a businessman in the making. I'll tell you more about the different things, businesses I started when I was a very young man. White Healing says, so a couple of years ago. Oh, you're talking about when I was in high school? No, not just a couple of years ago. High Speed Drifter says, Jason could pass for 32. That's very kind. Thank you. I salute all of you for these things. Marcia says, hot young man, and I guess that's a tulip. Wow, well, thank you so much. Very sweet. Jay Easom is here. Hi again. I commented on your story of the girl in car, fast and furious and funny. Thanks, Jay Easom. Great to see you here. Yes, she had to leave. She was a bit surprised at how quickly the car was able to stop and how she found herself suddenly unbuckled from her seatbelt and the passenger door wide open. And I was still sitting in the driver's seat. And then I was inviting her out. High Speed Drifter. There are 2 cases of COVID-19 in my mother's nursing home near Seattle. Very scary. We'll be talking about that just in a moment. Don't go anywhere, High Speed Drifter. I want to hear more about that. Dr. Jellyfinger's talking about news first, right? It's a good format, works nicely. Thanks so much. Justice for all. Jason, Integrity Kuna, thank you so much for that. I do right by people who do right by me. And I bend over backward for those people. I show up when they don't expect me to show up and help them out. This is my character. This is how I am. And when Cameron wrote me out of nowhere after I had been so good to him, calling me what he did, I said, you know all that I had done for you, and this is what you write me, and say, go away. Essentially, what he wanted me to say in that message was that he wanted me to go really hard on Spencer. And you all remember when this audio was released of Spencer, and the video is still up. You can see my opinion. I'm not going to rehash it here, but I took the appropriate tact with that. Ronnie wanted me to condemn him and go down this whole line of how dreadful he is and all of this. I guess there's probably some animosity between he and Richard, and I hadn't done that. And so ergo, he's going to just simply write me these things and talk this way as impudently as such a person. I won't say more, as such a person can behave. Draven says, if this idea of his were to work, once the island is improving on every level, the anti-whites would come and take it. Look at the other islands that are white. Well, precisely. Look at the Greek ones right now. But it wouldn't get that far. This is just this is children's fantasies. You are not, the anti-whites have never been fair, for God's sakes. What evidence is there on planet Earth at any point in history that anti-whites have ever been fair to white people? Have they ever been honest to white people? Have they ever said, well, you know, in the goodness of art, you really should be allowed to have your own place? And when have countries given segments of their country away anyhow? When has that ever happened anyhow? None of this is based in reality. None of the premises of these beliefs of this plan is based in reality. It's, you better support me or I'm going to slander you to everybody who will listen to me slander you. That's the position. And then say, well, why is this guy? I had clips sent to me of him saying, why is it that Jason won't talk to me? Does he have something, you know, is his position? He's no leader. His positions are too weak. That's why he won't. No, because your ideas are infantile. I mean, why not talk to somebody who says, why don't we just dig a tunnel and we'll all just live down in the tunnel? Why? Because that's dumb. Because I can compute it like this and I know that it's not feasible. There's no reason to discuss something. You have to demonstrate rational and logical consistency in your argument. This is how philosophy and adults work. You have to demonstrate rational and logical consistency before making an appeal to evidence. Okay? Now, somebody should have told you this. And if you, the rest of you out there who are not sure, you're not sure about how it actually works, you have to demonstrate, you know, this rational consistency, logical consistency before you can demand of someone else, where's your evidence that it won't work? No, the onus is on you. It has never happened in the world. The anti-whites have never allowed a white area to remain white. Their motivation is not to be away from us. Their motivation is to harm us. In every act of theirs, it demonstrates this. They're not going to give away an entire island to white ethno-state. I mean, oh my God, they won't even let you have your own neighborhood. You cannot legally have your own neighborhood. You cannot legally have your own community group where you say only white people. Christ almighty. See, this is why, how do you tell someone that they're not Napoleon? And I think actually that's apropos in this conversation. How do you tell somebody that they're not Napoleon? If somebody says to you, you know, and they're in that jacket, you know, and they're going like this, and they're saying, let me out, I'm Napoleon. How do you really tell them that they're not? You just say, you know, pat on the head and please sit back down. So that's all there is to that. But, you know, there does come a time when, you know, maybe things need to get a little bit more serious. All right, so that is, I have a thanks, Jason. JK160 writes, Ronnie is a race mixer. Captain Penguin says, I've heard Ronnie recently say that we're a cult, but that it may be a beneficial cult. Now listen to that equivocating bull. Bravo Sierra. Those are the words of a coward. Everyone knows that when you say the word cult in anywhere around the world, it means bad. It means it means Waco. It means Jim Jones. It means all of these negative connotations come with it. Never does the word cult mean something positive to the general population. So this kind of equivocating, let me just back my ass out of the door here, but it might be a beneficial cult. Piss right off. It's like it's a coronavirus is a virus, but it might be a beneficial virus, and that if you have, let's say, if you have cancer, coronavirus is beneficial because it takes your mind off of your cancer. Now, that's just the words of a coward. On top of being impudent, disrespectful, having no character whatsoever. Hansa says the anti-whites cannot inflict white erasure by allowing us our own areas for our people to have as a habitat in which to survive. They never will. Well, you know what? There was actually, for all of those who like to black and white photographs, there was a country that was filled with brilliant people, an entire country. They leapt ahead of the world in technology, of the whole world, an entire country. And now look at them. So if they could not set up a scenario with the old models, then you're surely not going to be able to set up something with the old model today. Mandy says, just heads up, Poseidon is streaming tonight since he didn't last night. Well, thank you very much for that, Mandy. Do we know when? I won't be on much longer. We love the dear Poseidon. Yeah, and the Gilligander's Island. This is the wannabe prince of Edward Island. That's what Ronnie is, the wannabe prince of Edward Island. Gilligander's Island instead of Gilligan's Island. Gilligander's Island. Sane people know that if you were to go anywhere and say, well, we've taken this over now, we've somehow secretly, without the government knowing, moved all of these people, millions of them, to a particular place, and now we've voted to just take this giant chunk of land. When do countries just go, oh, they took a giant chunk of land because they wanted it? Oh, okay, well, we understand, right? That's fine. When has that happened? Now you move a bunch of people to Gilligander's Island, where the wannabe prince is of Gilligander's, a wannabe prince of Edward Island is set up there above the rest of everybody, and they vote, okay, the island is now not part of Canada anymore. The very next day, Canadian Special Forces would come through the windows and they would double tap you right between the head, and the entire leadership would be dead in a night, and that would be the end of it. Unless, of course, you decide to waddle off into Care Bear world and the nursery room, where you can fantasize about the anti-whites saying, well, just let them have it. Just let them have it. We don't even like them. Just let them have it. JC Stalling says, I would put my money on Jason. What are we talking about? Sonia says, exactly. Great to see you, Sonia. Dr. Revelo P. Oliver is here. Red Radar is here. Punished Gadsden Snake. Oh, that's a cool name. Great to see you. JC Stalling, maybe this is it. I'd like to see Jason debate Spencer. What would we debate about? Does he have something? Is he saying something contradictory to what I'm saying? Bartleby says, exactly. They never, ever will. Talking, I'm sure, about the anti-whites. Saying, sure, you could have that area over there. I'm sure that's what like the Noel Ignatievs would say. They would just say, yeah, go ahead and have your place over there. Edgar Allen is here. Great to see you. Jason is actually a 5,000-year-old sorcerer. We know, Edgar, that's actually not the first time that people have said something like that, but I wish it were true. White Healing says integrity plus courage equals no white guilt. Thank you so much. It does indeed. And we can all have it. That's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. The ability to, and we'll get into this right now, I guess, the ability to predict the things that I have predicted are not things that I keep secret from you all, the methods and the means, but it's the exact stuff that I teach you, because I want you all to get better in your lives and go free in your lives. And so when I predicted, or I was speculating about, I was speculating about there being a twin. And then we had days later, two people, I think one of them is here tonight, mentioned on other platforms that, didn't Jason predict this days before? Wasn't he speculating about this days before? And then all of this reportage comes out that, there's actually a second coronavirus, and it's deadlier than the first, or deadlier than the other one. I was calling it the twin in the title, so that's still there if you weren't here last week to see. On Sally says, so how old are you? No white guilt. Is it a secret? It is. Only the gods that sent me know how old I am. Richard Wagner says, shared some info on the widget. Ah, all right, brother. I'll check it out in just a minute. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Bartleby says, correct. Red Eagle says, overestimating Canadian special force. You know, brother, I know there are a lot of jokes about Canadian military, but I guarantee you that they have some hardcore badasses in those positions, and they'd have no problem affecting a outcome like that. JC Stallings says, Jason, non-whites latch onto us because they feel they can't survive in the modern world, much less thrive. They make it. They can't make it, so they have to take it from us. Well, just imagine, Mandy says 10 minutes. What about 10 minutes until he goes live? Well. Then we better, but does he start talking immediately yet? He normally has like a long intro, right? Over here on Entropy, we have a financial gift. Thank you very much. From the wonderful participant, Elaine Sabatino. Hi, Jason and family. I'm listening to Going Free, but I have to clean my room because it looks like a tornado swept through it, so I don't have time to chat today. Cleaning with no white guilt. That's the best way to clean, Elaine. One time I was cleaning, and I was actually with a girlfriend, and I had made something, I can't remember what it was, in the kitchen. And I was cleaning in the kitchen, had gotten hot, and I had taken off my shirt. I was still cleaning in the kitchen, shirt off, and she walked in, and I'll just leave the imagery there. Richard Wagner over in the question widget, in a letter seen by the independent Italian doctors have revealed that 10% of all positive with coronavirus in Italy require various life support ICU despite low death rate. Well, 3.4%, that's not terribly low. Going to the ICU, including ventilators, can lead to long-term side effects. Virus is not just a flu. Let's read some of this info. We'll get through this. We also have one other financial gift today from Zero Talon. Thank you very much, dear friend. A big salute to you. $5. And writing here, this is on Cash App. Brothers and sisters, let's go free. Amen to that. And thank you very much for that financial gift to White Wellbeing and the work that we are doing here, irrespective of however bad it gets around the world or even in my community. They have two areas near me, of course, Washington, D.C., Fort Belvoir, cases that are showing up. And Hansa says, what about Slovakia? Oh, yes. Well, we touched upon Slovakia and the growth of the nationalists there. We'll get back to that if you'd like. Traversing the Divide is here. Great to see you. Another wonderful rising star. Elaine Sabatino says, hail, Jason. Hail in return, and fam. So let's see some of these stories. It's official. Chinese scientists find genetic explanation for coronavirus discriminating by race. And I'll jump some way through here. And of course, none of that is true. You have to ask the folks at YouTube to make sure you pick up the phone and call them to find out certainly whether or not HIV is in YouTube, but also, or is in coronavirus. Call the people at YouTube because they will know better than anyone whether or not HIV is there. They know everywhere HIV is. And you can also call them to find out about whether or not it discriminates coronavirus by race. A Chinese research group has emerged that offers concrete proof of race differences in susceptibility to coronavirus. And they are saying it is very real. The study, and by the way, in mainstream news, initially it was being reported that Asian people in general, and more so Northeast Asian, and more specifically male Asian Northeast Asia, were more susceptible than others. And then they stopped reporting that, which I think should be criminal, because if this is true, and of course this is being said so by these Chinese researchers, then aren't these anti-whites, in ordering to preserve the anti-white narrative, they are, first of all, and what we should care about most, because nobody's going to care about us but us, is aren't they endangering us by not telling us the truth about the virus? Yes. But aren't they also endangering these people of Northeast Asia, specifically men? Because if these people do have an increased susceptibility to it, they should know and then be able to take greater steps to protect themselves from it than might be required of the rest of us. But it doesn't matter. Sacrifice everything to make sure that we can continue inflicting harm on Western kind and Western civilization. The author explained that 2019 nCoV was reported to share the same receptor, ACE2, as the SARS disease, an outbreak of which 2003 seemed almost exclusively to kill Northeast Asians. Based on the public database and the state-of-the-art single-cell RNA sequence technique, the Chinese scientists analyzed the ACE2 RNA expression profile in normal human lungs. Crucially, they further found, in a comparison of 8 individual samples, that the Asian male one has an extremely large number of the ACE2 expressing cells in the lung in comparison to other races. So that's all we'll read from there. It's probably not true. Ask YouTube or Snopes. We have here also coronavirus patient 0 in Italy was an anti-white, non-white engineer, scientist, and astronaut who refused to self-isolate. The man believed to be coronavirus patient 0 in Italy is what I just said, refused to self-isolate after testing positive for the virus and continued to deliver Chinese food. Health authorities asked the man to quarantine himself at his home, but he ignored the request and continued to work at his Chinese restaurant. Probably not true. It's probably fake news. Ask Snopes to find out the truth. Coronavirus. This hit yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, northern Italy to quarantine 16 million people. Now, of course, this is going to have a major impact on economies across the West and the world, but we, of course, have to worry about ourselves because we know the world isn't going to give a damn about us. And what is important here is what I'll talk about in just a minute with regard to how big this is going to be, how harmful it's going to be, who it's going to harm, and whether or not we should be permitting our economies to be run into the ground, specifically when we see massive numbers of the white population across the West beginning to resist the anti-white narrative and beginning to look elsewhere for answers to how to live their lives and what will better improve their lot in life. Italy is set to lock down at least 16 million people in the region, northern Italy, and on northeast of the country. Mandatory quarantine will last until early April. The dramatic escalation in the country's efforts to contain the deadly coronavirus will close gyms, pools, museums, and ski resorts. Italy is Europe's worst hit country and reported a steep rise in virus infections on Saturday. I would say that the rise of the infections is now a consequence not of better testing or more testing, but because people are ending up in the hospital with this, and the hospitals are beginning to be overrun. The new measures will also apply to financial center in Milan and tourist hotspot Venice, and could take effect as early as Sunday, and will last until the 3rd of April. The death toll in Italy has passed 230. Are those numbers right? Should it be more? Should it be less? Ask YouTube. With officials reporting more than 50 deaths in 24 hours. The number of confirmed cases jumped more than 1,200 to 5,000, almost 6,000 on Saturday. The measure published in a draft government decree were obtained by Italian newspaper. They are, okay, not much more here to say. Nightclubs, of course, are going to be included in that. So that means really swarthy owners, business owners with shirts unbuttoned down to here and a bunch of hair coming out of the tops of the shirts. They are going to be panhandling very soon. All hospital beds in the U.S. will be filled with patients by about May 8th. And by the way, in these quarantine areas, flights were allowed to leave Italy and land in London today, I understand. So it seems like this is something that we are going to have to talk about with our friends, family, and strangers, because rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, the world is not about to end. You're not about to see the end of civilization. What is going to happen, though, is that the anti-whites are going to be using what is happening here to continue to spread anti-whiteism to folks. They're going to continue to demand more infliction of harm on Western kind and Western civilization. They're going to deflect the responsibility of anti-white policies as a consequence, or the responsible party and the policies themselves, as the agents that spread the policies that spread coronavirus. All hospitals and hospital beds in the U.S. will be filled with patients by about May 8th due to coronavirus analysis. A sobering analysis of how coronavirus is likely to impact the U.S. healthcare system suggests that hospitals will be quickly overwhelmed with patients and that all available beds will be filled around May 8th if the virus tracks with Italy's figures, and 10% of patients require an ICU. Of note, some newspaper reported thousands of people were waiting for hospital beds in South Korea as the disease surges. So what we're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, here is, let me move down. Okay, they're just talking more. We can expect that we'll increase to see a doubling of cases every 6 days. Actual cases, confirmed cases, may appear to rise faster in short term due to new test kit rollouts. More to be said there. We also have here, U.S. hospitals are preparing for 96 million coronavirus infections and nearly 500,000 deaths, leaked document revealed. Now, this document, you have to take these things with a grain of salt, because these are individuals who are giving their assessments in some of these cases, and then newspapers and certainly webzines and the like are making hay by reporting the most evocative of predictions. Almost 500,480,000 Americans are expected to die from coronavirus. 4.8 million will be hospitalized and 96 million infected. Figures from leaked slides from a presentation by James Lawler. So this James Lawler from the University of Nebraska is the one who is saying this, an individual. They show the spread of the deadly disease could be far worse than officials claim. Could be 10 times greater than a severe flu season. The shocking figures fly in the face of claims made by President Trump. And of course, they're making hay here by going after Donald. Lawler estimated people with heart conditions have a 1 in 10 chance of dying. So we now have nearly $10 billion freed up in the United States to fight coronavirus. And we have here, for some balance, top coronavirus expert says 4 million tests should be available by end of week, before warning Americans to avoid crowds and brace for quarantines as numbers of infected hit 484 across 33 states. There is another story, and it seems to have disappeared, about, let's see if I can get it back. We might be able to capture that story. Leading Harvard doctor says coronavirus is not as deadly as feared, because only a small number of contained cruise ship passengers have died, and only 0.001% of China's average 25,000 deaths a day are from the virus. Dr. Jeremy Faust said people should not be anxious about the outbreak and stop hoarding food and masks. He claimed that the coronavirus death rate is less than 1%, far lower than World Health Organization's alarming figures of 3.4%. The doctor slammed the frightening numbers, which overstate the risk. Faust said that looking at the doomed Diamond Princess cruise ship gives a better indication of how fatal the disease is than global statistics. Around 705 passengers out of the 3,711 on board the they say boat here, it's a ship, caught coronavirus. Only 6 people from the ship have died, giving a death toll of 0.85%. All deaths are in people over 70 years of age. He cast doubt on China's death toll, saying many happen in areas where the death rate is already higher than normal and respiratory issues are rife. He also pointed out that 25,000 people in China die every day, while just 25 coronavirus deaths were reported. Okay, he says instead of stockpiling food, Faust said the public should be helping the elderly and infirm who are most at risk. Now, this is what I'm going to say before, as quickly as I can, before we lose anybody else who may want to go over and watch Poseidon. 41 BMC is here. Great to see you. And that is this. Here's what's going on with coronavirus based on my reading so far and of the information I have available to me. And of course, we have to use reason, logic, and evidence to look beyond reportage, because you have to see in every news report the motivation of the individual who is bringing the information to you. If I have a saying that I made for myself, and if I can recall it, I will share it with you all. But essentially, you have to ask, okay, who is giving me this information? Why are they giving me this information? What do they stand to gain out of it? What are their prejudices when it comes to this information? You have to ask that at all times, so that when you receive the information, you can then digest it in a way that can be productive for you and your family, your loved ones. We don't have access to what the top politicians are receiving, and certainly what Donald is receiving. So the next step to that is then to say human nature. What would human beings, given human nature, put in these scenarios? How would they behave? And how we see them behaving, what does that behavior speak to, rather than what their words might speak to? All right. And that's not the guy who is a lackey at the IRS down the street who just bought $7,000 worth of toilet paper or something ignorant like this, or alcohol wipes. And that's the reason why I can't find any alcohol wipes, a simple pack of it to take with me on the trips I go on, because he has bought up $7,000 worth, and he'll be throwing them away in years when they've all gone bad. So that shouldn't be what motivates you. It should be looking at these leaders or these elites, anti-white elites in our cases, on a broader scale, how they're behaving and what they're doing. And so what's going on with coronavirus right now? The main thing I'm going to reiterate when it comes to coronavirus is the majority of the information that is being shared, and for this, we can only digest it by way of this sort of broad, throwing the net as widely as we can, and discounting wild claims on both ends. And on one end saying no worries whatsoever, and on the other end saying everyone will be dead, bleeding out of their eyes in no time. So when we take all of the other ones that are rational or legitimate and in keeping with other pandemics of recent memory and longer back in history, we can say that it appears that the virus is able to be spread by being within a meter of a person, or a meter up to at most 1.5 meters of a person who is coughing or sneezing. And if you're closer, even just their respiration. So it's coming out of their nose, it's coming out of their mouth, it's riding on water droplets, but these are heavy. It's not floating 20 yards through the grocery store or something like this. So you have to be right up on somebody to breathe this in, or they have to cough or sneeze right into your face to breathe it, to inhale it and catch it this way. The way that the majority of people, according to everything that I'm reading, are able to catch this is because these droplets, they then float to the surfaces around us. We touch the surfaces. The droplets, no one can say for sure, the coronavirus, how long it can live on a surface, but there are estimates of many days. It can be there for days. And you can touch the surface, and then there are averages of the times we touch our face, around our eyes, nose, and mouth. The two most important for us when it comes to coronavirus are the nose and mouth. And so we end up touching the surface that has coronavirus on it. And then we get a scratch. We go to our nose. We go to our mouth. And then we infect ourselves with the virus. Knowing this is how the infection is primarily spreading. You can take steps. I mean, one of the first steps, of course, is the not being around, leaving the premises or presence of somebody who is coughing or sneezing. Now, it doesn't mean the odds that they have coronavirus are nearly zero. It's much higher. They have the common cold or a flu or something else. But you don't need to be around somebody who is coughing or sneezing, and because you don't want to get sick, it's going to destroy your productivity, whether it's coronavirus or not. So leave the presence of somebody who is doing that. I guess we could start with, if you are coughing or sneezing, stay home, get better. Otherwise, what you should be doing is developing the habit of not touching your face. And this is very easy to do. You should do this with your children as long as they're not young enough to try to eat the rubber gloves that you put on their hands. And that is you put on a pair of rubber gloves. It could be dish gloves or whatever. I did it over last week over one day, and it was amazing the change that it made. I did it for several hours another day, and you will be surprised every time you raise your hand to your face. It's really obvious, and it's kind of shocking that this rubber glove is coming up to your face. Or if you accidentally you make one of your fists and you do like this, when you feel that rubber touch your face, it's something that really brings your attention back to the behavior that is unconsciously done. There are a lot of nerves on your face, a lot of little tiny hairs. Every little flake of dust or something that touches it can cause an itch, and you want to scratch it, you want to stroke it, whatever it might be. You want to get out of the habit of doing this. Now, if you have an eyelash in your eye, you got to get to. A hair in your mouth, you got to get to. That happens sometimes. And you want to do that, or you want to wash your face or whatever, you have to wash your hands and or use a hand sanitizer that is 60% more or out of alcohol. Some people are now making their own alcohol hand sanitizers because they're all sold out everywhere. Everybody has bought them all up. So you want to wash your hands. You want to, when you're washing your hands, sing happy birthday at the normal speed. Warm water and soap. Make sure you get your hands thoroughly clean, and then you can go with your face. The other thing to remember is that the things you touch, if you could touch a surface with coronavirus and then you touch whatever else it might be, now that might have coronavirus on it. So the bringing your hands to your face is what's important. If it's on your environment and you might touch one thing and then another and you get it in different places, the important part is that you just don't touch your face until you wash your hands. This is the principal way that transmission, according to everything I've read, in my opinion. I'm not a doctor, but I am getting these opinions from doctors. But of course, even the doctors are wrong. Only YouTube is right. So ask them, especially for the HIV portion. So you need to keep your hands clean. And it's also important, if you're going to be using the alcohol-based hand sanitizers and this sort of thing, that you use hand lotion, because you don't want your hands developing cracks from the alcohol and then have open wounds that you're then touching these surfaces with. So you don't want that either. Make sure you are moisturizing your hands. Where else are you? I mean, you're learning in a Going Free stream about White Wellbeing. What other content producers are telling you about exactly how you can go about effectively protecting yourselves and your family? Main thing, get the rubber gloves on your hand, dishwasher gloves, whatever it might be. I wouldn't wear something like a big work glove, because then that is going to disassociate your normal behavior of that hand to the face. So don't wear like your leather gauntlets. Don't wear your welding gloves, because you never bring that to your face. Instead, wear something like a dish glove or rubber gloves if you have those, or really tight leather driving gloves, so that you lose the awareness that you have a glove on, and then you're able to come to the awareness that your hand's coming to your face. This is how you're going to catch coronavirus, more so than breathing it in from someplace else. Much more likelihood than breathing it in someplace else. Now, why are the governments taking these massive steps, quarantining 16 million, in Italy and all of these other things that we're seeing happen? Why are we seeing these massive predictions take place about hospitals being filled? Because coronavirus is new. They're not saying all of this because just listen, this based on the information we have now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something important. When you get worried about something, worry can be crippling. You have two things to do. You have to act on one of the two things, or both of them if necessary, or you'll be crippled by the worry. So you either have to internally address the worry. Is this really something? Did I receive some wild information? Am I thinking something silly? And if I am, then let me dismiss this and stop being worried. Or you take steps to remedy the worry in the world around you. Things like, okay, I'm going to train myself, my family, my children, not to touch their faces anymore. I mean, seriously, if I had children, they would have, as long as they weren't young enough to try to eat the rubber gloves, I would have the rubber gloves on their hands, and it would be serious punishment if their hands came to their face or head or anything like that, because it could be life-saving in the long run. So you have to do something with your worry, and we're giving you things you can do. Now, when it comes to the governments and they want to isolate entire populations, they want to quarantine this or quarantine that, that's not because, based on everything that I'm reading so far, in my opinion, I'm not a doctor, but based on everything that I'm reading so far, it's not because coronavirus is like the Hollywood movie where it's going to spread and then all of a sudden you'll have tumbleweed in your neighborhood and everybody's going to be dead, and there are going to be few survivors, and you'll be out hunting for cats with the neighbor down the street at the crazy cat lady house, white lady who never had children, but she had 300 cats. So you need to eat. That's not what's motivating this. There is another reason motivating this, these responses by the governments. There's another thing that is motivating the hospitals and the actuaries to make these sorts of predictions and the hospitals to get ready. And that is simply this. Countries are looking at their populations. They're being told that coronavirus is novel, meaning that it's new. Very few people, if any or none, have immunity to it, a natural immunity, that they've been infected and it survived, and therefore they can't catch it again and pass it on again. So that means it is unlikely to diminish in the warmer months. It's likely to continue on its spread through the population. That means that healthcare workers who are going to be dealing with people who come in with coronavirus are probably going to get it, especially since, or likely going to get it, especially since the coronavirus, and many places I'm reading, they're saying that it is more infectious than the flu. In other words, it's easier to catch it. And they don't know why. It might be easier to catch it because it's living on surfaces for much longer than the regular influenza can. So it comes back to, again, let it live on all of your surfaces. If you don't touch your face until you sanitize your hands, you're okay. By far and large, according to what all of these physicians are saying that I'm reading. If you wash your hands before you eat, you haven't just picked it up off your counter, which you put it there yesterday when you came home and you had it on your hand. And so you're eating your food without coronavirus on it. Do you follow me? So the keeping the hands away from the face, keeping them sanitized before they get to your face, that is your defense. So since it's new, they're not able to use a inoculation, which I don't want to get into the debate about whether or not it works or doesn't work. And people aren't naturally inoculated against coronavirus. So many healthcare practitioners may get this, meaning that hospitals and doctors' offices will be understaffed. People already in the hospital for other things, giving birth, there for treatment on their heart or their kidneys or whatever, they may catch it because they're in a hospital where ventilation is picking up and it could land on surfaces in the hospital. And so and then be spread that way. So a great many more people could be catching it this way, since it's new. There isn't a percentage of immunity in the population. That makes sense. Now, everything I'm reading is that it's not the tumbleweed through the street scenario and everybody's dead over all age ranges. In fact, everywhere I'm reading is saying people who are older and or have some other compromised system, weak heart, weak kidneys, weak liver, etc., that make them more susceptible to the coronavirus. If you take the numbers of the elderly who are more likely to die if they catch it, and you take the numbers of the average people, say middle-aged or children who catch it, and they are all going to the hospital, and then you have half or more of the hospital staff out because at any given point, because they have it, and the hospital beds are becoming full. Now you see why they want to quarantine cities, without that meaning that you're going to have 80% of your neighborhood dead and you're going to be hunting for cats at the crazy cat lady house. Now you see, because you have, the food won't stop coming to your house or through your grocery store or what have you. It's a breach in the supply chain of food is far less likely than a breach in the supply chain of masks, say, since everybody is buying that, or certain types of foods. But what you do have is this situation where you have older people or people who are compromised in some way, health, that are going to be catching this, and they are not going to be able to get treated at the hospital, and they're going to die. That is why the governments are taking these steps to try to prevent this from going as widely as these sort of large measures, to prevent it from going as widely as it possibly could. The thing that we need to understand, those of us who are going free, is that who do we have in our countries that are the older end of the population? It's our people. It's going to be our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, who are the ones who are going to be the most likely to die if they catch coronavirus. So that is what you have to think about. That is the kind of thing you have to share. If you are able-bodied, if you're healthy, there's everywhere I'm reading, if you catch it, you're going to get through it, and you'll come out the other end as though it were the flu, the regular flu. It may be worse. It may be less severe. Nobody has any idea about long-term yet. I know there's a lot of speculation, but we can't deal with speculation. We can't make plans based on speculation. And you are not going to be able to live without society. So do not waste your money on $5,000 worth of propane or what have you, because if you have the time to sit down and actually figure out all that you need to be able to live inside your own bubble in the universe without any need from society, intervention from society, or help from society in any way, you'll discover that the $5,000 worth of propane or heating oil or whatever it might be isn't going to be enough. You're going to have a great many other needs that are not going to be able to be met. So you're going to be wasting your money there. What matters most right now are things like the ability to sanitize, the ability to clean, the ability to train yourself to not touch your face. This is what is important right now. This whole idea that you're going to be able to live apart from the world in your own little, geodome is asinine. You can't do it. All of these people, I challenge all of these people who think that they can survive without society. I'll have a conversation with them, and in 5 minutes, I'll figure out exactly how they'll fail. I mean, you can even, there have been shows over the years that show people who are living off the land, and only in the most extreme cases where the people are really weird are they actually living out in the middle of nowhere, doing all of their hunting, getting every single thing they need from the environment. That is less than a billionth of the population. You are going to need a great many things that are not going to be met with $10,000 of masks, of propane, of whatever. It'll just end up being an enormous waste. So the key here is to not get sick, not to waste your money. Now, tell Kevin, and I'll speak to, and this is the thing we really should get angry about when we talk to our friends, family, and strangers, because when society, when this kind of a thing happens, people have their faith in the elites shaken. So even those really intransigent white people out there who are still thinking, no, America or whatever, Italy or what have you, even those vagues out there are going to be afraid. They're going to be wanting to look elsewhere. Now is the time to get to them with going free. Now is the time to talk with them about this. Now is the time to blame anti-whiteism. If your grandmother dies, it's because of anti-whiteism. If your mother or your father gets coronavirus and they die, it's because of anti-whiteism. If coronavirus kills 700 in your state, it's because of anti-whiteism. Make sure that everyone knows we need to be ahead of this, because the anti-whites, trust me, the world's going to go on. It'll keep turning. It'll be like Y2K. It's going to keep turning. And we're going to come out the other end. And if we are not telling the truth to our brothers and sisters out there, the vagues out there, if we're not getting out the truth, that the reason why we have open borders is because of anti-whiteism. The reason why we can't stop something like this dead in its tracks is because of anti-whiteism. If we don't do this, the anti-whites are going to get to them, and they're going to say, this is because of Western kind. This is because of white people. And if you think for 1 minute that they're not going to be able to come up with convoluted reasons why, then you're fooling yourself. They're going to say non-white babies are dying because you didn't bring them in. You didn't embrace their suffering. Non-white this, non-white that. It's all your fault. Feel guilty. This is going to be a brand new feel guilty white race, because there was that huge scare about coronavirus. And now it's 5 years after coronavirus has gone by, the big scare, and all millions of non-white people died because of you, my white man and white woman. Guaranteed that's what's going to be said. And in reality, it's going to be the fault of the anti-whites. So get mad as hell right now that we can't control this, that we can't shut down the border, that we can't and are not shipping people off who have coronavirus to special facilities so they can't infect anybody else. Why in the hell is this country, in any European country, any Western country, allowing people who are infected to continue to walk the streets and spread this so that it kills our elderly? It's going to be our old people that are dying in mass numbers, because it's our elderly that are going to be the ones who aren't able to get into our hospitals. Who do you think is going to get preference but the anti-whites of any race, but primarily the non-whites, anti-whites who show up sick? They're the ones who are going to be put into the ICU. They're the ones who are going to be receiving the white man's absolutely space-age technology to make sure that they make it through. But it'll be your mother and your father, your grandmother that you love deeply, that'll be turned away at the hospital's doors and will lie on her couch or her bed at home and die in front of your face because of the anti-whites. Make sure that you get mad as hell because of this. And when you travel, you let folks know how pissed off you are. That we wouldn't have any of this. We wouldn't have this garbage in our countries if this were led by white people who cared about our people and our civilization and our children and our tomorrows. None of this would be happening. Instead, all of this would be handled with absolute sobriety and intelligence. And the fewest number of people would suffer and the fewest number of people would die. We just had Jay over here on Entropy Financially gift $5, writing, great show. Thank you so much for that kind financial gift. Told Kevin, Jason, do you recommend getting the flu shot for children and adults? I don't take it. And I'm not going to some people feel that they need it. Some people, certainly there are people who have weak systems, and they feel that they have a history of saying, well, it's always worked for them and they have no issues. You can take that with a grain of salt or take it as gospel from heaven. I personally don't take the flu shot, and certainly the flu shot is not going to help you or your children for coronavirus. So keeping your hands away from your face, staying out of crowds where people might be coughing or sneezing. Go to the grocery store when it is off hours, when fewer people are going to be there, so that you don't have people potentially coughing or sneezing on you. If someone coughs in an aisle, leave the aisle for the time being, come back later. Don't stand right up on top of somebody, because if they have it, they could not have signs and they could be breathing it out and right into your face. So stay away from those environments for the time being while this is doing its thing and spreading. But make sure the world knows who is responsible for this. It is the anti-whites. And make sure that everyone knows that the reason why we continue to take these flaccid efforts and continue to leave doors open to folks from around the world and continue to ineptly address the spread of this novel virus is because of anti-whiteism. All of these deaths are going to be because of anti-whites. All of them. All of the loss of productivity. And then we can get into the impact of the market and the shutdown of all of the markets around the world, the closing of these giant gatherings and the hotels, jobs, restaurants, etc., everything that are going to be tanking as a consequence. Who's to blame? The anti-whites. These measures would not have to be taken if it were not because of anti-white policies in place. What matters for us is white well-being. What matters for us is recapturing our destiny. It's not buying $5,000 worth of propane. What matters for us is keeping ourselves healthy and then getting out there to our brothers and sisters and helping them to go free, so that they know the reason they might get infected, the reason they might lose their job, the reason why the economy might tank, the reason why all of this is happening is because of anti-white ideology, anti-white belief system. We're too damn concerned with all of the non-white people of the planet to take effective steps to protect ourselves. Roy Danton, just financially gift over here on Entropy, $25. And thank you very much for that. Writing, I've got very scared of standing in a line at an airport where you can't escape crowds of people, so I decided to drive thousands of miles instead of flying. Well, people are making that decision. If you do have to stand in an airport where people are going to be breathing, potentially coughing around you, wear the best mask that you can get a hold of. Any mask will be better. Pardon me. This is not like, again, this is not like the movies. It's not like, people were saying, doctors were saying on some channels that, and in some newspapers, that don't buy masks because the air will just go around the mask and then you'll get it. They just don't want you to buy masks because there's a shortage of masks for healthcare workers. If you're standing in front of someone and they're breathing out the virus or they cough out the virus, the air, how can I say? It's not like it's traveling on the droplets in the air, according to the doctors. I'm not a doctor, according to the scientists. So your inhalation is not hoovering just those particles out of the air. Your inhalation is bringing the air that's immediately around you into your mouth. Much of that is going to go through the mask. And then once if you're wearing a mask, of course, if you have a mask that is tighter sealed, that's even better. But having a loose fitting mask is not going to assure that you're going to be infected. So that's nonsense. If you're on a plane, rest assured that every airline has changed all of their HEPA filters on the airlines, which will capture every particle in there and will be filtering out then. If somebody has corona on the plane and they're exhaling, your issue will be, if you're on a plane, is if you're sitting beside them or right in front of them. So you'll need a mask for that. But just the air circulating is going to be cleaning corona or any other virus out of the ventilation system. The airports, this is life or death economically. for them. Your life or death literally is life or death economically for them. So in the past, where they would have allowed these HEPA filters to go beyond their due date of being replaced for financial reasons, you better believe they're going to be replacing them now, because the airlines don't want to end up like the cruise ships where, one person with corona was on this, jumbo-sized plane, and now everybody has it because it's circulated through the plane. They just don't want that to happen. Wear a mask if you're going to be in a large crowd. Don't be afraid to do so. But the most important thing, thank God, it isn't so light that it just floats and in the air and just stays in the air forever. It falls on things, and that is where the great danger is. Thank you very much, Roy. Let me take a quick look at your comments, see if there are any other financial gifts on the other platforms, and then I'm going to get, because I've got a lot to do, and Poseidon's on it. We don't want to miss all that he has to share. I'm sure already plenty of you have already jumped on over to his show. All right, we're blank on Cash App, and we are 41 BMC over on Ko-fi. Thank you, my dear friend. Gifting $12. Hi, Jason. I've recently embarked on a new health consciousness of less and better eating, along with working out more. White Wellbeing does include having a sharp mind and healthy body so we can function at our potential. Thanks for the inspiration, brother. You are most welcome, and thank you for that testimony, good sir. You are a great participant in our community, and thank you for taking care of yourself and improving yourself so that you can help improve us, which means improving yourself. So thank you so much. Let's see what you all are saying in the chat here, and I can take a look over at the other chat quickly. I see Simon is there. Andre is here. First John is here. The great Mrs. Jess Horst is here. Wonderful to see you. Marie is here. White Healing Speaks over there on the gardening as well. I see Seavers over there. Let's see if I can try to give you see if that worked or not. Bob White is over there. Great to see you all. And number something or other. Jess Tourette, is that what it was? I saw it go by. Great to see you. Durden Boxing was here. Great to see you. Rebel Scott was here. Great to see you. Green Magpie. Champion Puffa. Great to see you. If there is more news that comes to light about this virus or its evil twin or whatever else might come out, I will do a special stream to talk about that, to help keep you all safe in the best way that I know how. And a big thank you to the mothers and fathers who have, looking at the sober advice that I've given in the past and the accuracy of my speculation, my predictions that repeatedly have been working out. And like I said, it's not me. You all can go free, and you all can make the same sort of, I guess, clairvoyant-like discoveries. You just have to go free, approach things. You have to kip reason, logic, and evidence. You have to be mature and sober. And it's just a way you think that will enable you to arrive, once you're treating your mean pathogens, a way for you to arrive at positions that are closer to correct in the objective world than wild positions that we see elsewhere. And no, this is extremely irresponsible of folks like the Alex Jones InfoWars channel, where somebody sent me a clip of some guy on the channel now utterly irresponsibly saying that these are the, whatever they call them, what do they call them over there? I guess just generally elites, that they released this so that you can become more dependent on the government, the world government, the World Health Organization, demonizing that. There are going to be good people and bad people there, ladies and gentlemen, and saying things like, this has been released so that you become more dependent on that, and that you then they crash our economies to make Trump look bad. That is so irresponsible, asinine, and childish. It is unbelievable how. But on top of that, What is worse is that it does nothing for us as a people. It doesn't unite us as a people. It doesn't get us close to the truth whatsoever. It doesn't help people protect themselves. On and on and on. If we are going to live, it's going to be the ones that take up going free. That is the way to our salvation. Roy Danton gifting another $10 over here on Entropy. Thank you so much. Almost Heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm really looking forward to my road trip. Be safe, brother, while you're out there driving on the road. Remember, roads are quite dangerous. And remember, when you stop at convenience stores, you pump gas, anything like that, you get back in your car, hand sanitizer. That virus could be on that handle. It's going to be on the buttons you touch on that screen. And ladies and gentlemen, somebody sent me a clip from somebody who is supposedly quite bright, who was advising folks, don't use your finger when you touch on the screens, use your knuckle. But then you end up using your knuckle to itch your nose because you don't want to use your finger. That's the infected part. You don't want to, do this. You end up going like that with the knuckle that you just used on the screen. Don't worry about that garbage. Sanitize your hands. Train yourself to not touch your face. The other thing that I've done, thank God I just remembered, these things are not yet missing. You can still find them at stores. You can still find them online. Go back to the old method of the handkerchief. Now, I'm not talking about blowing your nose and of snot and then putting that back in your pocket. That's disgusting. Buy handkerchiefs when you do have an itch on your face and you're in public. It's driving you nuts. You're not going to be able to sanitize your hands or wash your hands while you sing happy birthday. You're not going to be able to do that. Take the handkerchief out of your pocket, out of your purse, unfold the handkerchief to the interior, keeping your hand on the backside, and then scratch your face, itch that nose that's driving you nuts, especially you guys out there a little older, you got that nose hair coming out all over the place. Itch that with the inside of the handkerchief that is not exposed, and then you fold the handkerchief back up and you put that back into your pocket. Keep your hands away from your face. No knuckles, no nothing like that. And make sure if you're going to go use a restroom in public, increasingly restrooms, they have these ignorant electric dryers for your hands. They don't have paper towels. Go into the restroom with napkins so that when you come out, when it's time to leave, you have a napkin to grab that door handle. You don't want to touch that door handle. There's going to be not only corona, but some other disgusting things on it, I assure you. Thank you very much, Roy. Let me see what you all are saying, and I'm going to get out of here. The great Justin Lee is here. He's recommending colloidal silver. Yes, silver has been shown to kill viruses, bacteria, a lot of different things. You can use that in a vaporized form to get up into your nose and lungs. Raymond says, check Ko-fi. All right. Is that from earlier? Did I miss? Potentially from earlier. No. Somebody over on Ko-fi just financially gifted $24 and saying everything that needs to be said with a gift, a financial gift. Anti-whites, I want you to think about this. Financial gift to the protection of white children, for reuniting us, reforming us again as a people, and especially in a time of crisis. That is what I want you all to be talking about as we go into this week. When it becomes a time of crisis, this is when we really have to show who and what we are made of. This is when we have to pull together tighter. This is when we have to protect our community. I am going without buying all of these things that I could be buying, these canister breathers and all of this kind of stuff. I could be doing I drive by all of these stores. I could be doing that, but instead I'm making sure that I have the news. I'm having all of this together for you all so that we can help protect each other. This is what we need to be doing. We need to be focused on each other. We need to be telling the world at the top of our lungs. And thankfully, I just remembered, ladies and gentlemen, if you make videos, you want to make videos, you blog, you want to blog, you vlog, you want to vlog with the videos, as I said. You want to have a audio only, like a Spreaker or something like this, or you do have one. Start one or start talking about it. You write songs, you write music, write a song about it. You write poetry, write a poem about it. What is happening now? Who is responsible for this? It is the anti-whites. This is why your grandmother is going to die. Let white America know. Let white Germany know. Let white Australia know. This is why your loved ones are going to die. The immune compromised ones, the ones with heart problems, this is why they're going to die. This is why you're going to have a breakdown in economy. This is why you're going to lose your job. It's because of anti-whiteism. Have you had enough yet? This is why your wife is going to be fired from her job. This is why your husband's going to be fired from his job. This is why they're going to be downsizing here or downsizing there. This is why you can't get your medication. This is why you can't get the replacement parts for your respirator that you need to do your nebulizing or whatever it is. This is why everything is going to get worse. You're going to hurt more. It's going to be because of anti-whiteism, its precepts, its sickness inflicted on us. Take these steps now. Make sure the world knows who is responsible. Our brothers, the vagues, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, cousins, they all must know. Your parents, let them know who is responsible now that they're scared, now that their eyes are open, now that they want to know why this is happening. Let them know. Let you be the oracle that tells them that the job loss, the rising prices, the deaths, the realistic ones, not everybody's going to be dying from this. The realistic ones is going to be because of the anti-whites. Thank you very much for the financial gift, somebody, for that. Getting in here. A few more moments. I'll take a look at a few more of your slots. Just came in on Cash App at $1 with a financial gift. Thank you very much. Did you miss a Ko-fi donations from 1 hour ago? You sent in 2 Ko-fi donations an hour ago, you say slots did. They are okay. Yep, just reloaded the screen and we are up. I see slots with $3 gift on Ko-fi. Thank you very much, my dear friend. Slurred as crazy or not, winning the moral high ground means winning the standard. Conservatives do the same, loser snickering. Exactly. Very well said, Slots. Thank you very much for that. I see one from you on Ko-fi. $3 gift from Slots on Ko-fi. Slurred as crazy or not, winning the moral high ground means winning the standard. Conservatives do the same, loser snickering. They do exactly. Irish eyes. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, holding the moral high ground is very important to white people. Could that be any more evident? We need to hold the moral high ground in these conversations, and we do so by creating these thought chains that the lexicon and dialectics do in Going Free. Did I read this? Irish Ice with a $3 gift. Thank you very much, my dear friend. And writing, the anti-white population in my town is rapidly becoming aware of who they, I guess, through extensive flyering. I guess it's the anti-whites, of extensive flyering, sticker hunting, and loads of face-to-face conversations about the evils of anti-whiteism. It is a serious job, but massively rewarding. Bless all the whites around our planet. Well, bless you, and a big salute to Irish Ice. Thank you so much. What a hero. What a hero. Hundreds and hundreds of finding these, distributing flyers in lawful areas and finding them elsewhere, finding stickers and having conversations with anti-whites and vagues everywhere he goes. Well done. What a champion. What an absolute exemplar of what it means to be going free. Thank you very much, dear friend. And let's try one more refresh and see if anything else comes up there. Slots. No, just the one. And thank you so much for it. And we'll try one more time over here on Cash App. I believe it's, well, while it's loading, I will jump over to Hansa saying, I missed the first 50 minutes or so if White spoke about Slovakia in the earlier part. I'll just replay that part. Yeah, brother, I did. I spoke about it right at the very beginning. Oh, Seaver says needs to get back into the mod chat. All right. Yep. We'll make that happen after we're done here. Marsha said, going to Poseidon. Bye, Jason. I assume she's gone by now. That was, I think, minutes ago. Alex says, I predict that we are going to see our ranks grow exponentially this year and beyond. We are going to reclaim our destiny. Wonderful, brother. Thank you very much for that positive news and prediction. Also writing, I noticed that the regime media, there is more and explicit talk about combating insert anti-white slur. Yeah, they are absolutely ratcheting it up. And they are, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, they're going to be using this panic over this pandemic to deter and undermine our growing numbers and our vagues looking elsewhere for leadership. Alex also writes, and I saw from a clip of the BBC where a non-white reporter said that the white population is declining there, and in her words, quote, we are winning. Yeah, great catch. Great catch. Right, the anti-white reporter talking about numbers declining and then saying we are winning. Wow. Mr. Buga says, you're coming over to Poseidon stream with us? You should. Yeah, I'll pop over. I have plenty of work to do. I can have it all in the background, but I guess you've probably gone as well. See you there. Fraulein Dresden, do you have any suggestions for me? Like spray Lysol on her before she gets in my car from the airport. Oh, earlier you must have asked about somebody, mother or somebody like that. Yes, hose them down with Lysol. No, it's the hands. It's the hands. And Alex says, I noticed that the regimes, I guess this was, yes, that was a repost from earlier. All right, thank you. Draven says, a case of corona was found in my town my father lives in. He is fighting cancer. So you are speaking to the choir on this end. Well, precisely. Yeah, very much. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, if your father who's fighting cancer ends up with coronavirus, he's going to be in dire straits. So, and this is all going to be the fault of the anti-whites. Fraulein says, my cousin has arrived. There it is, from Argentina on Friday to visit. But we'll still wear a mask and gloves to keep us safe. Well, when you're out, I mean, yeah, if you go out in public, but the main thing is wash your hands when you get home or when you get back in the car, use sanitizer. Roy says 1,000 miles, not thousands. I probably misread that. Sorry, brother. Edgar Allen says, is there any way we can mention the group that allows their children to cough and sneeze on others? Well, if somebody allows to cough and sneeze on you or your children, I know how I might handle that. Hansa says, if children are home, it would be plumb silly to be fanatical about touching face in a clean home. Well, you won't be home all the time. And unless when you're out, I mean, you could sit down and nobody quite knows how long. If you pick up corona on a shirt sleeve or something like this, you take it home and then the child comes and touches your shirt sleeve and then their face. That's where the stop has to be made, is reaching the face. Edgar says, you look more Promethean when you don't touch your face. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, Mr. Buga says, still here. Great. And Poseidon says, let's go. Or, I mean, Roy says, let's go over to Poseidon's after the show. Yeah, it looks like we've already had folks leave to go over to Poseidon. So those of you who are left, make sure you go as soon as we sign out here on over to Poseidon's channel and see the news that he has to share and the opinions he has on what's going on, especially there in Greece, because he's much closer to the action than we are. But I will come back with any other reports if anything develops when it comes to coronavirus or anything else. And Unapologetic Wasp is here. Great to see you. At the last minutes, Greek tribesman. I think I saw you earlier. Machiavelli sucks. Ryan, where it just missed it. It just went away. Sorry about that. Ryan something or other. It was great seeing you all. Please stay healthy and please make sure that everyone in your circles of influence know exactly why your friends, family, and strangers that you might care about are going to be fired, lose their job, have prices go up on them, live a lower standard of life, get sick and recover, and even get sick and die. Make sure that they all know that this is because of the anti-whites. And I look forward to going free with you all very soon. Be safe.